Hotep, Senu, Hena, Senut, E.T., RNE, Shakanduku Kemet. How are you, brothers and sisters? Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Hope you're doing well. Some people say TGI. It's Friday. Some people still have to work on the weekend. But most people will be free. So we're not bound by time. First of all, I want to share this latest song from our sister Alex Little, who is a regular when we go live. The acronym is DARKUS. And the sisters will love this song. Brothers will like it too. I like it. But sisters might be a bit more receptive to it. So I'm typing Alex Little. Oh, yes. DARKUS. And now the link. Boom. Oh, you see, I even forgot to share the usual invite link. I will correct that now. Okay. Oh, I had it open already. Never mind. No, fais pas ça. Boom. Boom. Okay, so the comment stays at the top. And it first says calling link. So whoever wants to holler can. Thank you for those who made who clicked on that thumbs up button. We have one dislike. Hey, we just started, but that's how it is. Some people don't waste time to express their dislike. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. So feel free to join us, brothers and sisters, or feel free to leave your comments and statements. We want to see what's up today. We're going to see what's up today. We're going to see what's good. We're going to see what's a dilly. We're going to see what's popping. We're going to see what's happening. We're going to see Wagwan, Wapan, everything Chris. No, please. Now, there's something I want to talk about briefly. Tu veux tomber, Meroud? Touche pas, ça laisse. And that is this situation with some groups who talk about non-Black Americans who allegedly want to take over their privileges. There are some movements for reparations, and I don't have anything against that. And some people, when you hear them, you will feel like Black people or Africans of the diaspora have decided to get to America in order to take advantage of the reparation movement. Have you heard any people of the diaspora say any such thing as we're going to get ours or we're going to get yours? I haven't, but maybe you have. Let me know. Merut, it's a troublemaker. You're a troublemaker. Yesterday. Oh, there you go. There you go. Look at this. Look at this username. Why don't you call in? If you show your face, I'll let you. I'll let you talk. But what do you think you're going to achieve? Put in a username that is disrespectful towards me. That's not wise. But here come back. Here come back. Since it's Friday evening, well, afternoon in America, he might come between 20 and 30 times this evening. That's my estimation. Why don't you call in? Let us see your face. Because you want to talk about very serious issues? Go ahead. Now, he don't stop my flow. Yesterday, I kind of ended the live stream abruptly because there was some sound effects that I didn't want the audience to hear, and I did not even check if you could hear it. But when you have that kind of noise, it feels so loud. It feels like everybody can hear it so clearly. No, 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 no. Arrête. Hold on. Gotta find a way so that she can calm down. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we have Chris Toure. I wonder why there is this accent, because that accent is a sound, and Toure. I never heard Toure. Yes, basically the when the accent is the other way around. When the accent is that way, it's the sound that you don't necessarily have in English. But when the accent is that way, basically the opposite of the one we can see on the screen, is the sound. It's the sound of cliché. Now French is quite complicated because there are so many accents. Oh, no problem at all, Chris. But Touré, yes, like Sekou Touré. So the accent should be the other one. But it can be written without an accent at the end of the day. But he's asking, you have Haitian ancestry? Oh, yes. Our parents were born in Haiti. So I speak Haitian Creole. I've been to Haiti. Ki jan ou ye? Ou pa pli mal? Wap boule? Wap degaje? Mwen la ak pitit mwen. On fait un petit live pour me parler avec famille là. Pour me connaître qui j'en moun yo e. Pour me connaître ça qui passe kounya. Pour tout moun la kay. Pour tout moun diaspora. Chris Toure wrote, I'm headed to Sudan this summer. Now, may I ask where you are located, where you normally reside? If it's America, if you don't mind saying the state at least, and if you're okay with that, if you can tell us the city. And do you speak Arabic? Iowa. Okay. Well, that's the state, isn't it? Iowa. It's his state. Do you speak Arabic? Do you go for vacation? Just plain holidays? Or do you have some family or relatives, or is it for work? So Chris Torres says, no, I don't speak Arabic. My family is South Sudanese, and they lived in Sudan before the split of Sudan and South Sudan. We're going to Khartoum, because he has family there. All right. Well, you could learn Arabic from your family. Well, actually, well, it's not all people in Sudan who speak Arabic. I presume some people in villages they will speak some, like Juba, and I don't really know the languages, but you have the Dinka people, the Nuer people. They are probably the most known as Sudanese or South Sudanese. And how is the situation? Because unfortunately, after South Sudan, the youngest country in the world, after they got established as a country, well, those two main tribes were fighting, and it's probably Dinka and Nuer, but maybe I'm wrong. Somebody can correct me. It was very, very bloody. Now, I haven't heard too much about this conflict. I hope that it's no longer ongoing. But is there any other language that you know or that your family speak besides Arabic? And by the way, if you are shy, if your comments and questions, brothers and sisters, I mean, I don't mind making this a short one. If there's participation, if there is interaction, and hey, I'll be there for a little while. But if it's that quiet, maybe people want to go and party. It's Friday night. But here is a calling link. So Touré says, my family speaks Arabic, Shulkik, our ancestral language, and English, of course. I see. Because there are quite a few Nubian languages, and I'm wondering how close they are to the Medu. So if there are some people who know some Nubian languages, and feel free to tell us if you ever came across some words or names that sound close or similar or the same as some of your language's vocabulary. And by the way, Chris Toure, if you want, you can ask your family what Abiad means and ask them if it ever meant black at any time, because this is a linguistic acrobatic and linguistic gymnastic that has been used by some people to claim the blackness of Muhammad ibn Abdullah and the Arabs of the 6th 7th century. Now, oh, I wonder if I have the right one. Afro-Asiatic peace to you. He wrote Meroitic is an Afro-Asiatic language. Keys are in Afro-Asiatic language, including Metunecha. Afro-Asiatic loves the Afro-Asiatic language family. How many Afro-Asiatic language do you speak? Or how many Afro-Asiatic language are you learning? I mean, you talk about the Afro-Asiatic language family so often. Maybe it will be a good thing for you to learn one of those, to learn one of those. You don't have to, it's not an obligation. It's a suggestion, you know. Okay, which one, brother? He wrote, I do. Which one? Wow, I won't be surprised if he says Arabic. He put a smiley. أنت تتكلم عربية كثيرا قليلا. Oh, baby girl sleeping. Oh, so cute when she sleeps. Yeah. Now, Chris Toure is asking how many languages do you speak? Well, I would say three fluently: French, English, Haitian Creole, and I'm kind of learning a few other languages. Kind of. Well, you know what? I think. Let me see if I have a good. Might as well share a little some because right now I don't know what's wrong with people. If they are still at work at this time. If it's not there, then it will be there. What? Oh, okay. Hmm. Well, brothers and sisters, should we call it a day? Or will there be any participation? I mean, you know what? Let me see what I can share. I like this one.
This is Shakandugu Kemet.
This presentation is called Allah is not written in pre-dynastic Nubia Temple of Ptah. I'm going to show you a 20-second excerpt from a video that made a lot of groupies happy lately, and then I'm going to expose why it's wrong.
If you know Islam, or if you know Arabic, you know the name of Allah is written Alif Lam Lam Asatel. This is Wolof. This is ancient African. This is Alif Lam Lam Asatel. This is Allah.
Here's a close-up of the Medunetta. The gentleman talking is Badara Nda. We're going to get right into it. Medunetta is a more appropriate name for what is more commonly called hieroglyphs. They are numbered, and the one that we are looking at is D37. Okay? Now D37 is sound for G. Now if you go on Wikiversity, Development of Hieroglyphic Writing, it says D37 and D39 was a determinant meaning to offer. D37 shows an arm and a hand offering a stilized loaf of bread. For further reading, you have R.H. Wilkinson, Reading Egyptian Art, 1992. You also have a picture of Tehutimes, more commonly known as Thutmose III, showing offering, and his gesture is shown in D39. Now here's a bigger resolution of the picture. You also have a link to the website of the English Egyptologist Alan Gardiner. He's apparently the one who came up with the classification for the Medunetta, the hieroglyphs, if you will. And you can see that D37 means give, to give, okay? You can also check out hieroglyphs.net, and you can see that you have the sign, the symbol for D37, and it means give. It's a verb. Now back to Wikipedia. Don't you worry, it's not my primary sources. There will be others. You can see here the bread cone. That's inside the palm of the hand. You have an extended arm, and then in the palm of the end you have the cone, and that's the symbol that we are dealing with. Okay, that person earlier claimed that means Allah. Okay, you have a picture of the vessel for Pepi, the first set festival. If you look closely between the two ankh in the bottom, you can see the actual cone, bread cone. Okay. And talking about festival, if you check page 58 of the Per M Heru, which is more commonly known as the Book of the Dead, you have a translation of a few symbols with the one that we're dealing with. And the translation is as follows: He is the giver of life from the beginning, which makes sense according to what we saw earlier when he says that it means give, to give, okay? Every time I quote the Per M Heru, the Book of the Dead, that's the edition that I'm talking about, okay? That one is it's actually called the Book of the Dead, Hieroglyphic Transcript and Translation into English of the Papyrus of Ani by Wallis Budge. Now, Wikimedia Commons, you also have the symbol that we're dealing with once again, and you have a translation, given life like Ra. Now you can see the sign and the Ankh sign, which means life. You also have the disc, the solar disc, which most of the time means Ra. So I suggest that symbol that I didn't know of means like, okay? And underneath you have the same one, but you only have the cone this time, not the actual all arm with the cone in the palm, but it means the same thing. And now underneath you have three pictures, right? The first one is a fragment from an Egyptian stela from the New Kingdom period. It was found in ancient Ugarit. The second one, I don't really know what it is because it looks like it's German. It's some other language I can't read. It says Maler der Krabkammer des Hege, but then if you have that's a close up there, you can see the sign. It's about in the middle, and you have the Ankh sign as well, so it probably means give life again, something like that. And then finally, the third picture is the one that the groupies are rejoicing over. Now that one is Menreb Ta, that makes an offering to the god Ta, and it's actually in a museum of archaeology and anthropology at the University of Pennsylvania. Okay.
Now, remember earlier I showed you two examples where the symbol D37 was linked to festivals, right? Now here's one more. Now, if you go to the website of the Museum of Archaeology of Anthropology at the University of Pennsylvania, that's yeah. You go on, click on Exhibit and Collection, then go to Egypt, then go to Lower Egypt, the Palace of Meremta. Then, if you do a search, you don't have to read all these. Do a search, Control F, type in festival, and then that's what you're gonna have. The palace which housed the king during religious festivals originally stood in the vicinity of the Memphis sanctuary of the god Ptah. Now that was a long way. In case you want to show it to one of your friends, just tell them to go on Google and type in Lower Egyptian Gallery. You click on the second link, and then you will have it looks like an older page from the same website though, and it says the second sentence says the palace originally stood in the vicinity of the sanctuary of Ptah at Memphis, where it housed the king during religious festivals. All right. Now let's deal with examples of the symbol's actual meaning, since apparently it's supposed to mean Allah. I'll go on Google and type in "given life" like Ra. That's the sentence that we had as an example earlier. And first thing that comes up is uponreflection.co.uk, and you do have some translations there. You have the symbols and then the meaning. In the second line, you have "May she be given life." You can see the Ankh, which means life. You have a symbol in the middle that I do not know, and then you have the cornbread. Okay. Underneath, well, what I'm adding, the Medunetta can be read from top to bottom, left to right, or right to left, but never from the bottom to the top. And the way for you to know is to look at the direction which the signs are facing. Like in this case, you can see it's facing towards the right, so you read it from right to left, and you have the sign for Sa, and then Ras, that means son of Ra. Now just underneath you have given life, like Ra forever. Now you can see the Ankh and then the cornbread at the end. If you scroll down, you have another example, and it's given life. And you also once again have the Ankh and then the cornbread. Okay. And now I'm not tempted to give you a lesson. I just want to make it plain and simple for the sake of my argument. Now with the Medunetta, you have phonograms. There's three categories. You have the single sound or consonant, such as D21, and that's the sign for the letter R. You have two sounds or consonants, such as D28, and that's the sign for Ka. And you have three sounds or consonants, such as F35, and this one is for Nefer, that's NFR. And you also have ideograms, which are signs that represent what they mean. For example, you have a man, so that means man, that's A1, and you have B1, which is a woman, so that means woman. Finally, you have determinatives, which give a general idea of the meaning of the word. Now, what's very strange to me is that Badaranda breaks down one symbol, D37, which is spelled D or J, into Lif, Lam, Lam, A, Sakar.
This is the original name of Allah. Lif, Lam, Lam, Ha, Saker. Ha, Saker means the Ha of the pyramid.
Can you hear me right now?
Right
Can somebody
Now,
type
bear in mind that it can be safe to say that D37 is made up of
if you can hear me.
D36, which is the sound for A, that's the arm, and X8, which is spelled D and means give, and that's the cornbread. Okay? Now, for example, check out the symbol D10, that's the eye of Heru, which is called Horus by many, and it's called Ujat. Now, if I was to choose four different parts and give a sound for each, for example, U, D, Ja, T, it will be funny anyway, but at least there will be some logic to it. But how am I supposed to make it sound other than what we know it as, which is Ujat and nothing else? Really, to me, it's as full as
Okay, now my apology. I did not even know that I could be heard. And well, now I know. This is a different way to share the videos. It's a direct up. Well, let's not make this boring. Well, you probably heard some cursing. I'm sorry, I was listening to a video that was sent to me, but someone who is on some strange tip, uh, almost trying to vilify the black diaspora. So, thank you, Afro Asiatic, for informing me that something was wrong with the audios because I was just listening to that thing. Um, well, let's put it this way. I'll share an invite link for the last time. If tonight is not the night, then that's fine. You had a an example about um true seeker. Okay. Some example about people making freestyle with the middle nature. I mean, we have this dude that's a bit old, but that dude came in and said that's Wolof. He claims that a glyph says Allah, but he says that's Wolof. And I think the guy who uploaded that video still has it up. I will check now. Yes. 12 years ago. Oh my goodness. And a lot of people bought that BS. But anyway, today was a bit messy. And oh, okay, Hassan called. I was about to end the live stream. Hello, Hassan. How you doing?
Hello, hello again. You were responding to. It's nice to talk with you again. You were responding to who was that exactly saying that Allah has its origins in some hieroglyph? Like who is that
Well,
exactly?
from what I know, this dude is called Badaran Dow. So the surname is Ndaw, Ndaw,
Uh-huh.
and the first name Badara, Badara. The thing is that it was a Runoko Rashidi tour. You're probably familiar with Runoko Rashidi.
Mnoko Rushdie. I'm not. No,
Okay,
not at all.
Runoko Rashidi. He wrote a few books. He concentrates or he focuses mainly on the African presence in Asia. He loves that,
Mm-hmm.
and Asiatic black men love that. So he will go to different countries and show pictures of black people,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody feels like, okay, you know, we're the original this and we're the original that, and so on and so on. By to each his own. And he might also be quite known from his contribution in the book called The Golden Age of the Moor, edited by Ivan van Sertima, if I'm not mistaken. So Runoko Rashidi was doing a tour, and that guy Badanda started talking, you know, and we could see from the beginning. Actually, I don't even know if I showed the full thing, but some people were impressed because when you don't know a language, you hear somebody and he's in a museum. I don't even know if he had a badge, but he's a lame, he's a liar, and the guy who defended that false claim is that individual who uploaded that video 12 years ago. That same guy, but down who makes that false claim, he did not just try to uphold or try to defend that. You know, he was a third party who went around the world, and it was back in the days when people were very big on message boards. So he went everywhere and he advertised it, quote unquote, advertised it by saying this was a Runoko Rashidi tour and blah 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 and blah blah blah. But ironically, some time later, some years later, that same guy who uploaded the video, he called a radio program where Runoko Rashidi was being interviewed. And when he brought that up, Runoko Rashidi said it doesn't say Allah. And if it does, then somebody else put it, somebody else added it. And it was a good nail in the coffin. But it's just a shame. And amazingly, the people who ultimately shared that video the most were some Asiatic black men in France who used to roll with neo-Nazis and skinheads, and also being pedophile and rapist defenders. They came up with a website, and it was on a homepage, and they wrote something like a proof for the doubters, you know. But anyway, I was a bit long-winded.
Yeah. So an Asiatic black man, is that just like a black man living in the Middle East or like the Levant or
Oh,
something?
actually, I'm glad you asked me that. When I say Asiatic black man, um, that's people of the Islamic persuasion, but most of the time it's more specifically non-Orthodox Muslims. So, um, people from the Nation of Islam, for example, they claim to be Asiatic black men. Now, people from the MSTA or Moorish Science Temple, uh, they might have what they mainly call themselves Moors. But yeah, no, when I say Asiatic black men, I don't mean someone who lives in Asia. I mean, those are primarily, um, let's say, Black Americans or African Americans who has a strange theology, to say the least.
So they call themselves Asiatic black men?
Yes. Um, I will look for a quote, but they do. No.
As opposed to, just black men are. Because that means that they're saying they're not from Africa, I guess, in some sense, or like maybe they get their culture from
Oh,
the
for
Levant.
them, for them, Africa is the jungles of East Asia. Farrakhan said it on that 3 minute
Oh.
video that I usually play. Yeah.
Oh.
Like, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just a beginning so everybody can hear it.
So Shabazz was not permitted to stay in that area, so he took his family into the jungle of East Asia, which we now call Africa.
You see, he took his people up to the jungles of East Asia that we now call Africa. Now, I'm looking for, where is that document? Why is it not here? Is that you, brother? Playing drums?
Sorry, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I'm kind of kneading dough right now. Let me put it on mute.
Where would I? Okay, it might be there. It might be there. Yes, it should be there. So, Asiatic black man. Asiatic. Okay, well, I have one quote. Actually, I will copy it. I don't want people to see certain things. Never know. So I'll do that here. And I will see what's up with that. So let me do a share. Oh, Radio 1 has joined us. What's up, brother? And Afro-Asiatic black man as well.
Yes, Hotel brother, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, brother.
Yes, yes. I just thought I'd call in. And, I have some free time on my hand. I wanted to address from last time, about that Herodotus quote.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's in relation to what you guys are talking about now as well. The Afro-Asiatic thing, and I and I kind of sense that that somewhat bothered you when I read that quote because I
Well, you could use that word, but I was more surprised than anything else that we will have an Arabia, which will be in a different location than the one that we know of. But did you find any other evidence or indication about the actual location that Herodotus meant?
yes. See. Now here's the deal. Okay. And this is why that linguists came up with the term Afro-Asiatic. And applied it to Egypt and Kush because because of this. This has a lot to do with it. And but what they don't realize or what they fail to mention is when Herodotus is speaking on his geography. Okay, when he speaks on the continents, the two continents, Asia and Africa, he calls the continent of Africa Libya as a whole. And when he divides the continents, he divides it from Libya and Asia. But when he speaks on Africa or Libya, he divides the Nile River, the east bank of the Nile River. He calls it Arabia, and the west bank of the Nile River he called it Libya because it wouldn't make no sense to say that the east bank was Libya and the west bank was Libya also. But he divides the Nile River from the land of Libya, from Arabia. See, but he doesn't call the people east of Egypt Arabians. He sees them as he calls them Egyptians. So it's like but it's more of a geographical situation more than rather than a racial category. Because he just like when he divides the Nile River, he is dividing the land from Libya on the west bank of the Nile and Arabia on the east bank of the Nile, but he still sees it as Egypt. Like even on the Red Sea coast, he saw that as Egypt, and because that land east of Egypt, east of the Nile River to the Red Sea is a very narrow land. So and on top of that, the Red Sea divides Africa from Asia as well, and that's why he, when it comes to the continents, he divides it into Libya and Asia, or Africa and Asia. But when it comes to the Nile River, he divides it, from Arabia. He divides it. He divides the Nile River as Arabia and Libya, but he does not call the Arabian part Asia. That's what you have to understand. He never calls it Asia. Like when he speaks of east of the Nile, he calls it Arabia, but he doesn't call it Asia. So it's like he's speaking of one Arabia in Asia, and he's speaking of another Arabia in Africa or in Libya, and that's but some of the white geographers, and the later geographers, they took this and twisted it, and try to make it seem as if Herodotus was talking as if he referred to the east bank of the Nile as Asia, but he didn't do it that way. He called it Arabia, called the eastern part Arabia and the western part Libya. But the people, he called them Egyptians. The people were Egyptians. They were Africans, and he called them Egyptians. And the people south of Egypt, he didn't call them Arabians. He called them Ethiopians. And it's more of a geographical than a racial thing. And I wanted to explain it last time, but I really didn't have a chance to because because you had so many people.
There's so many people, yeah.
Going back and forth, but but that's the that's the situation.
And actually read before that the term Libya was used for a good part of the continent, if not the whole continent. But I can't remember who used that for the continent. But Arabia, I never heard it. Arabia. Well, I mean, not Arabia for the continent, but I never heard a mention of Arabia for some part of the continent before.
Yeah, because you got to remember, like the Nile River, it like it divides Africa for like thousands of miles, you know, and until you get down to the source. When you go farther south and you go past the source into the area of Kenya and Tanzania, the continent is whole again. You know, there's no river dividing it. But yeah, but that makes a long story short. You know, when it came to the continents, you know, he divided it from Asia and Libya. You know, and he never but that's not to say. I mean, that's not to confuse that, you know, that the people east of the Nile River were called Asiatics. No, the people east of the Nile River, they were seen as Egyptians, you know, but it's more, you know, it has more to do with geography, you know, and he calls the land Arabia, but the people, he called them Egyptians, and the people to the south, he called them Ethiopians, you know, and when he refers to Libya, the continent, Africa, the continent, he only really refers to it as one time, which is in book 4, chapter 41, when he compares it to Asia. You know, he is like drawing a map for all the continents, and he calls the whole continent of Africa, he calls it Libya as a whole, and that's the only time where he refers to the continent. But any other time, he's talking about the west bank of the Nile, you know, the west of the Nile River, and that is the confusion that brought about the whole situation about Afro-Asiatic and about Ethiopians being in West Africa, because this when they brought about this confusion, you know, this is what caused them to place Ethiopians in East Africa, who were really supposed to be placed in West Africa, but they placed them in East Africa because of this, you know, because they say that when they say Ethiopians of Libya, he was referring to the people west of the Nile River, but they try to make it seem as he was talking about all of Africa, you know, but when he mentions all of Africa, you know, he mentions no people. You know, he just seen all of Africa as Libya as a whole. You know, that includes Egypt, Ethiopia, the east bank of the Nile, and the west bank of the Nile. You know, but any other time when he mentions when he gives a geographical description of people living to the west bank of the Nile, you know, he calls them Ethiopians and Libya. He's referring to the people to the west of the Nile. You know, when he gives a description of the Libyan tribes, you know, to the north on the Mediterranean Sea, and the people in the south and beyond the Sahara Desert, and the people in the Western Sahara Desert. He calls them Ethiopians. He calls Armenians, troglodytes. You know, and those are the people that he refers to as, you know, the people of Libya or Ethiopians of Libya. But the white geographers, they twisted this and try to, you know, and I believe they did it on purpose to take, you know, the people of West Africa out the picture, place people that actually dwelt in West Africa, but place them in the Horn of Africa by era, you know, and that's what brought about this confusion. And, you know, and because of this, you know, that's why they came up with the term Afro-Asiatic, because they try to use this to see Egypt as a part of Asia, you know, but when that was not the case, you know, even Herodotus, he explains one point when he is speaking to the Ionian Greeks. They're saying that the east bank of the Nile is Asia and the west bank of the Nile is Libya, but Herodotus disagrees with them, you know, saying that, you know, how could one part be Asia and one part be Libya, and if that's the case, then there is no Egypt, you know. So he said, he disagrees with them, saying and says no, that all the land that the Nile flows through is Egypt. He sees that as Egypt, and he saw the Ionian Greeks as wrong in saying that, saying that one part is Asia and the other part is Libya, and then that takes Egypt out the picture. So he just calls it Egypt, and when he's making the division of the West Bank and East Bank of the Nile, he calls East Bank Arabia, West Bank Libya, but he doesn't call the East Bank Asia. He calls it Arabia, and that's what you have to understand. They so it's like, the people of, you had the Asiatics on the continent of Asia, okay, which was the Persians, the Assyrians, the Arabians, the Phoenicians, all those people, but the people of Africa, you had the Ethiopians, the Egyptians, the Libyans, and that's the truth of that matter. But yeah, but I mean, but this is how all this confusion started. They twisted geography, and twisted and ignored what Herodotus said, and put their own twist on it, and brought about this confusion. And that's why people try to label Egypt as, Afro-Asiatic, or so. But and it would have been more accurate if they had said like Afro-Arabian instead of Afro-Asiatic. But but Egypt is in Africa, so
That's what it
so it
is.
should, yeah, so it should be called African, if you ask me. But that's what brought about this confusion.
Yeah.
Okay. And Brother Alpha Asiatic, just one moment, please. I just want to share that quote. I think it's large enough. Now, this is from a book called The Tribe of Shabazz. Um, Many people might not know that book, but you have some books that are made of compilations or excerpts from Elijah Muhammad's speeches. Sorry. So this book is called The Tribe of Shabazz, and this is Elijah Muhammad. He said, "Greetings to you. I am Elijah Muhammad, the preacher of freedom, justice, and equality to the American so-called Negroes, the lost and found members of the Asiatic Black nation, and from the tribe of Shabazz." So he doesn't exactly say Asiatic black man, but well, I guess we can ask our brother Afro-Asiatic. Um, Asiatic black man, is that some title? Do Nation of Islam members call themselves Asiatic black men, brother?
Yeah, brother Shaka. Peace, brother Shaka. Peace to the panel, brother
Yes, brother.
Hassan and brother Radio One.
Yeah,
Yeah,
peace, brother.
that's a title though. Yes, sir. That's in the lessons, brother Shaka.
Mm.
But I really wanted to piggyback on some documentation from Leo Africanus that kind of supports Radio One's information that he was just speaking on. Leo Africanus 1526, The History and Description of Africa. He talks extensively as well about many black Arabian tribes that had settled in East Africa.
Mm.
That's Leo Africanus.
But where can we find that?
Leo Africanus, The History and Description of Africa. Then it's a word there, HAKLUYT, society.
Hold on, hold on. The description. So the description and what of Africa? Okay, the history and description of Africa.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Leo
so
Africanus.
um,
And he mentions several tribes in inner Ethiopia, the empire of Pret Ani, as well as other tribes that he surmised were of Arabian origin, black Arabian origin. You know, they did have skirmishes though. You know, of course, you know, our people wasn't just homogenous and of one mindset. So there were, you know, wars and battles and skirmishes for control of trade routes and things of that nature. But
Mhm.
Leo Africanus does go in.
By any chance, brother Afrazic, do you have the PDF?
Yeah, I do have a PDF. I have to go on another device to pull up the PDF though. I was reading from my notes.
Um. Okay, so apparently there's several volumes. Because there it says volume one. Would you know the volume? Okay, well, there's volume two there, so I'm gonna get both. I'm going to get
I
both.
believe I believe I have one, volume one,
Okay, and which page is
15,
that?
1526. Between pages 50 and 54, he's
Okay,
talking about those
I'm
violations.
going to have a look.
Hmm.
Going to have a look. Okay, we'll be finished in a few seconds. You say 50 to what? Sorry, brother. Oh,
50 between pages 50 and 54.
50 and 54. It looks like something wrong happened with. Going to try to download again. Oh no, it is there. What doesn't it open then? No, let me see. 50 to 54. Uh, why is it not there?
Can't pull it up.
Why is it not there? Oh, let me try again. I'll try on the desktop this time.
See, I'm not as savvy as you, Shaka. I got to get all of this stuff organized.
Yeah, it's okay. Um, okay, it's downloading now. 50 to 54. Okay, so 50 to 54. That's the introduction. 50 to 54. Oh, that's 83. Okay, I'm working my way up. 50 to 54. That's 54. We're going to read together. It's going to be long, but it'll be practice for me. Let me share the screen. Let me share this. Share screen. Now, how does it look? Okay, I can make this a bit larger. Okay, well, okay, never mind. Okay, let's start. So, okay, let me start. Okay, I'd like to start like this, but it's okay. I'd like to start at the beginning of a chapter or something. So I will start at the beginning of this paragraph, which is actually on page 49. They are movable feast, namely Easter, the feast of Ascension, and Whitsuntide, they observe at the very same days and times that we do. Likewise, as concerning the feast of Christmas, the circumcision, the Epiphany, and other the feasts of the saints, they agree wholly with us, though in some other things they vary. It's a bit strange because you have U's instead of V's. They have great store of leprous person who are not put apart from the rest of the people, but lie in company with them. And many there are who, for charity and devotion's sake, do wash them and heal their wounds. They have a kind of trumpets, but not of the best, and likewise certain drums of brass, which are brought from Cairo, and of wood also queered, queered, I don't know that word, with leather at both ends, and cymbals or cymbals like unto ours, and certain great basins whereon they make a nose. I don't know if it's worthy for me to continue here because it's not really talking about population right now. Um,
That is that old that's that old English. Yeah, that's why
yeah.
it looks like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. That old English.
So I will try from page 51 there. So it says of the lower or extreme Ethiopia. This part of Africa being utterly unknown to Ptolemy and all the ancient writers, but in these later times thoroughly discovered by the Portuguese, instead of Portuguese, it's Portuguese, especially along the coast, beginneth to the northwest about the great river of Zaire, not far from the equinoctial, from whence stretching southward to 35 degrees, and then northward along the sea coast on the backside of Africa, as far as the very mouth or entrance of the Arabian Gulf it limited the south and east frontiers of the Abbasid Empire last before described. It is part also in this part also are many particulars very memorable, as namely, besides sundry great empires and kingdoms, the famous mountains of the moon, the mighty rivers of Magnis, Kuama, and Kuau, Ku- well, Kowo, I don't know how to pronounce that, springing out of the Lake Zamber, the renowned Cape of Good Hope, and other matters whereof we will entreat in their due places. This portion of Africa is divided into six principal parts, namely the land of Ayan, the land of Zanzibar, I guess it's a way to write Zanzibar back in the day, the empire of Mohenmugi, the empire of Monomotapa, the region of Kafraria, and the kingdom of Congo. Okay, so they're talking about Arabia now. Ayan, the first general part of Ethiopia, the lower. The land of Ayan is accounted by the Arabians to be that region which lieth between the narrow entrance into the Red Sea and the river of Kulimansi, being upon the sea coast for the most part inhabited by the said Arabians. But the inland parts thereof are peopled with a black nation, which are idolaters. It comprehendeth two kingdoms, Adel and Adia. Well, so far, before I continue, I say, well done, Brother Alfred Eric, because I think it's the first time you tell us something and I find it.
Brother Shaka, stop it, man. You know I
No,
bring source material. You may interpret it different than myself,
no, but this time that's what you
brother.
said. You mentioned black people, and he says black nation.
It's
So
all good, brother.
so um Adel is a very large kingdom and extendeth from the mouth of the Arabian Gulf to the Cape of Gardafu, called of old by Ptolemy Aromata Promontorium. South and west is bordered upon the dominions of Pret Yani, about the kingdom of Fatigar. The king of this country, being a Moor, is accounted amongst the Mahometans. Now, Mahometans, that's an old-fashioned way of calling of describing Muslims, a most holy man and very much revered or reverence by them because he waged continual war with the Christians, taking captive many of the Abyssines and sending them to the great Turk and the Prince of Arabia, of whom he received great aid for the maintenance of his wars, both horse and foot. The people of Adel are of the color of olive, being very warlike, notwithstanding that the greatest part of them want weapons. Their principal city is called Anar, and some are of opinion. Unto this kingdom is subject the city of Zayla, inhabited by Moors, situate on a sandy and low soil, which some suppose to be built in the very same place, but at the entrance of the Red Sea, where Ptolemy placed the ancient mart town of Oalitz. This city is a place of great traffic, for hire they bring out of India cloth, elephants, teeth, frankincense, pepper, gold, and other rich merchandise. The territory adjoining yieldeth abundance of honey, wax, and a great quantity of not olive oil, which they make not of olive, but of a kind of dainties plumes. It affordeth likewise such plenty of corn, of cattle. Okay, well, this is food. So, um, now I'm curious. I'm curious. Oh, well, furthermore, there. Okay, I will take up from where I left off because he talks about black people. Where was I? So corn, cattle, and of fruits differing from ours, that they are transported by shipping to other nations. Barbara likewise, a city of the Moors, standeth in this kingdom of Adel, and hath a commodious Hoen, whereunto resort many ships laden with merchandise from Aden in Arabia, and from Cambaya upon the river of Indus. The citizens are black people, and their wealth consisteth most of I'm sorry, and their wealth consisteth most of all in flesh. Okay. In the year 1541, um, it looks like double A after the D. As you should see on the screen, it's not so clear, but it looks like Gradaneth or Gradameth, the king of this place, after many mischiefs which he had done to Claudius, the emperor of Abbasia, being vanquished by Christopher the Gamma, the Indian viceroy of, I don't know if it's John or Yon, the third king of Portugal. Okay, well, now I'm curious about the two kingdoms mentioned, Adel and Adia. Do any of you brothers know about those places?
Yeah. Well, excuse me, Shaka. I do about the Adel Sultanate. They have a variant. Well, you can see that the name is only spelled one letter different. But the Adel Sultanate, they built a kingdom up in East Africa and Islamic kingdom, and they were going to war. They were anti-colonialists. The Adel Sultanate, but that was 15th 14th century, I believe. but that's not in this particular piece of work right here. But that's in you know, we can find that information as well. The Adel Sultanate.
Um.
Black Arabs
So well,
in East
is
Africa.
is Black Arabs in East Africa. So basically,
Yeah.
he's talking about
Moors
Africa.
too.
He's talking
Yeah,
about
he's
Africa,
talking
right?
correct. He's
So
talking about
basically,
black Moors too in
well, yeah,
East Africa.
yeah. Well, he's talking about black Moors indeed, but he's not talking about black Arabs. He's talking about black Muslims, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. He's talking about black Muslims, Moors. Uh, he does mention the word Arab. You know, we can't negate that.
Oh, okay. So apparently, it's in modern English, it's spelled Adal, the Adal Sultanate.
That's correct. That is correct.
Okay, okay,
Very powerful black tribe,
okay. So
Muslim.
let me see if they have anything on Britannica, but there was an entry on oh, on Wikipedia. But just for the record, let's all have a look at Adal. I will
Yeah.
share the screen. I have so many stuff open now. So this I can close. This is well, that's part two.
Shaka,
Okay.
I appreciate you know your kindness today too. What is today? what
Well,
what the planets are in
this
alignment, brother.
no, but like sometimes I ask you for the book title, and a lot of time you have articles,
Yeah,
but
different PDFs
I,
and
I don't know
things, you
why
know.
why lately you feel like I'm being unfair to you, but it's all
Nah,
good.
you always been pretty solid, man. You know.
No. Um, so this is Britannica 2012. Now the entry on Wikipedia is longer for whatever Wikipedia is worth.
Yeah.
Now it might be a bit small on your screen, but it's not long, so I'm just going to read it. So Adal, historic Islamic state of the Eastern Africa in the Danakil-Somali region, southwest of the Gulf of Aden, with its capital at Harar, now in Ethiopia. Its rivalry with Christian Ethiopia began in the 14th century with minor border raids and skirmishes. In the 16th century, Adal rose briefly to international importance by launching a series of more serious attacks. The first phase, in which the forces of Adal were led by Mahfouz, governor of Zeila on the Gulf of Aden, ended in 1516 when Mahfouz and many of his followers were killed in an Ethiopian ambush. Within a few years, there emerged a new leader, Ahmad Gran, Ahmad the left-handed. He gathered a following of Muslim nomads for a jihad or religious war against Ethiopia. They swept into the highlands, drove the Ethiopian emperor into exile, forced massive conversions, and by 1533 controlled most of central Ethiopia. They destroyed churches and monasteries. The fugitive emperor appealed to Portugal for help. 400 Portuguese musketeers landed at Mitsiwa, now Massawa, Eritrea, in 1541. Adal then took on reinforcements as well, 900 Arab, Turkish, and Albanian musketeers, plus some Canaan. Adal's successes continued until Gran was killed in battle near Lake Tana in 1543. The Oromo invasions of the later 16th century put an end to Adal's power. Its rulers fled north into the desert. Their nomadic followers lost any semblance of unity, and Adal was reduced to insignificance. So that was for Adal. And now there was another one, and I think it might have been okay. Here they put Adia. I wonder if it's not what is called Aden in this article from Britannica. But I will have a quick look. I'll put Adia. I don't know. I should call it kingdom. Kingdom. Anybody ever heard about Adia? Um, can you hear me, brothers?
You said Adal? Yeah, I haven't heard about the Adal Sultanate, but
Yeah.
this is
Well,
around.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but Adea.
No, I haven't heard of that ever.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is that these populations are also related to the Afar, the Agal, and Seho. They are related to other populations which hold the same, oral traditions that
Mm,
they came uh, across Bab el Mandeb from Arabia,
mm,
and I know it's difficult and it's, somewhat unsettling, for some, but this is their narrative. And I don't think, I think we would be arrogant to ignore their narrative.
mm. But really, in the first place, you started off by saying that there's black Arabs. Now, there's
Yeah.
mention of black people indeed, but it doesn't mention that those are black Arabs.
Well, all we got to do is read the material thoroughly, and we would
Well,
come to
whenever
the
you have the quote, I have the book now, so feel free. Whenever you have the
conclusion.
page number.
Afro Asiatic, are you familiar with Afrikaners?
I ain't hear you. I ain't hear that question. What you say, brother?
Are you familiar with Afrikaners?
Afrikaners, Leo?
Like in South Africa, Afrikaners is what they call them.
Oh, the white ones. Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have
Uh-huh.
an oral
Mhm.
tradition that they created where they said they came from Africa, but the reason why we don't believe them is because they're white. And so the
No,
reason
they're
why someone
liars.
would be, skeptical of like a black Arab is because, well, we know what the people from Arabia look like. And so
Well, we
there's,
know what
I'm
the.
not saying that they're wrong. It could be true because if you look at the
No,
Red Sea,
it's not
right,
true.
it is possible. No, it is possible that there's a group of people who came and there is evidence of, some sort of back migration. It was a long time ago, though, of peoples. But generally, if you look at an Arab, you don't see a black person. You look at a black person, you don't see an Arab.
Yeah, because
So,
they're not out. The people that we know as Arabs today are not the original population. Just like the people that we see in Kemet today is not the original population.
okay,
So
but to what
we
extent?
can
What to what
we
extent?
can pretty much
Right. So, like,
you know square that
how
up.
far back are you saying original population? Do you mean like the first people ever to be there weren't they didn't look like what they look like today? Because I would agree, right? Like 100,000 years ago, everyone was black. I'm talking about like recent human history. Like
Yeah.
if I look back at the time of Christ, I would expect Jesus Christ, if he existed, to look like
You
some person I'd see in Cairo or some person I would
no
see
look like
in
more like
Tehran
you,
today.
more
Right,
like
but like
yourself.
so you're saying that sometime, like, when did the black people leave Arabia?
Well, they're still in
And like
Arabia.
who are the
If
people currently inhabiting Arabia? Who are they and where
well,
do they come from?
pre- predominantly what we see in mainstream media is they're going to give us people who reflect the, uh, King Al Faisal, white or Aryanized Arabs. But if we do our research on the peninsula, we can find very dark people, reddish brown people, all in that area to this day. Like right now,
Well,
you have.
I don't doubt that in some places in the Middle East you can find really dark people. I mean, you can go to India and find, Indians that are darker than most black people in America. But
Mhm.
do they look like people from Africa? Do they look like people from West Africa? Do they look like people from South Africa? Do they
Yes,
even look like,
yes,
some of
they
the
do.
tribes in Libya and like North Africa, right? And like the Torah, do
Yes,
they look like those black tribes there?
they
Um,
do. They
Right,
look like
right.
them.
But why is it that they are not the predominant population in this area? Was there a genocide? Was they
Invasion,
expelled from their own
incursion.
lands?
invasion, incursion. You know, we can't negate history. We know that populations are moved
Right.
around, they disperse. You have migration, incursion, invasion. So we
Okay.
know that populations are pushed out or reduced. You know, and when we look at the Middle East, we see many pockets of blacks spread out
Well,
throughout the Middle East. That is the
see, the
base
thing is,
population.
see if that were true, right, you would see more uniform sort of, black looking people and like sort of clumped together, right? But what you do,
There
in fact,
are.
what you do see is that it's only places like Yemen where they've had like,
It's
a
not just
lot of
Yemen.
black migration trade and invasions that you see people who are mixed with black. Once you move out from Africa, you see less and less of that. So it's more like it's the
It's not
Africans
just
who have
Yemen.
made it's the Africans who have made the Middle East more black, not Europeans who have made this black population more white.
I, I never said any Europeans. I'm talking about Afro-Asiatics, Afro-Arabians in the Arabian Peninsula. But the populations meant we have. That's why it's important for us to utilize the genetic evidence to
Right.
give us even great, just to help us out in our research. It's just another tool. But brothers tend to stray away from it because it says that many of those populations back migrated into Africa. They are Chadic speakers, the Hausa, Begara, Bisharin, and many others. I'm not going to run through, all of the names, but the genetic data is stating this, and we should utilize this tool, to give us some perspective.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, I want to add on too. I mean, it's very important, that we are even entertaining this subject because you have other groups, okay, or squads, okay. They are trying to take African Americans and West Africans out of the picture of history, and and they don't even entertain what we're talking about, and you can disagree with it or agree with it, but it does have to be entertained, and you have these other groups that they are ignoring these sources, and because they are ignoring these sources, they're taking African Americans out the picture. Okay, you have groups saying that we have nothing to do with ancient Africa, Egypt, none of that. But when you entertain these sources, you will see that we do. We are in the picture
Yes.
because each
So
one of these
so here's the
sources.
difference.
Yeah,
Well, I was just gonna say,
yeah. But
I
yeah,
just
I'm
wanted to
going to be quick.
respond. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, but each one of these sources, okay, they leave nothing out about Africa. Okay, when you deal with Leo Africanus, he has a name for the people of West Africa. He calls them Negroes. Okay, the land of the Negroes, and he also
True.
groups
True.
Nubians. Yeah, he groups the Nubians with the Negroes.
True.
And the people to the north he called North Africa. He called them Africans, Moors, and so
Which
on
one?
so so
Oh,
Berbers, but and the ancient Greeks, the ancient Arabians, the Arabian historians. Guess what they called us? Sudanese. They call the people of West Africa Western Sudan or Western Sudanese, and and the ancient Greeks called us Western Ethiopians. And but the other side, the pseudo squads, okay, they want to make it seem like the people in East Africa, they are the Ethiopians and so and so, and we just West Africans and we were unknown. No, that's not the case, because there's not one tribe in East Africa today that calls themselves Ethiopians. Okay, that's referring to a broader a broader people, like a broader land, which is all the land south of the Sahara. Okay, so when he speaks of the Ethiopians south of Egypt, he is talking about the Cushites, the Nubians, the Sudan, the Oromo, the Beja, or whoever. Those are the Ethiopians. When he speaks of the Western Ethiopians, you can split them, you can divide them into groups. The Western Ethiopians, the Songhai, the Sonike, the people of Mali, the Yoruba, the Mande, all those are Western Ethiopians. So it's like,
yes.
yes, they're trying to take us out the picture. Just like Egypt. You know, you can divide Egypt. You had the people of Memphis, the Thebans, and even the modern day people, the Saidi, the Felahim, and all those groups. You know, and same thing with the Berbers. You got the Amazi, you know, the Tarag, and all these groups.
Fulani, Fulbe.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they group them and they call them Libyans. Okay, and it's
Hmm.
no different from calling the people of sub-Saharan Africa Ethiopians. Okay, that is what they called us. Okay, that okay, DNA studies and all that and all these modern day terms that do not take away the fact that we were called Ethiopians. Okay, so you can say well this is this is not West Africans because West Africans come from E1 B1A and all that. And but that still doesn't change the fact that those people who had that E1 B1A haplogroup were still called Ethiopians. Okay,
The,
because
Well,
the, the,
I mean,
go ahead, brother.
Africa's pretty genetically diverse, right? So we don't want to like just group all of Africa together. I mean, they're still under the category of black, so that's something. And with E1B1A, I mean, there again, Ramses III was tested. He had E1B1A, right? And so I'm not a geneticist. I'm not super into studying subclades and like this one means that your ethnicity or anything like that. But when it comes to the Middle East, I think we would see more remnants of a black past if there were a black past. If you test somebody on the streets of Cairo today, on average, you'll have between 8 to 12% sub-Saharan DNA. This is in Lower Egypt, right? And so imagine what it's like in Upper Egypt, where the people actually look black, right? And so you still see that sort of evidence of a population. In the United States, we still have sort of, subgroups and places where you will find lots of Native Americans, the indigenous people to this place. You just don't really find that in a lot of places in the quote unquote Arab world. And there's no reason to believe that because there was this specific group of black people who are associated with the Moors or Arabs in like some weird way that they're the indigenous people of the Middle East. I just need to see actual sort of concrete, evidence that
See,
there were black people in the Middle East and that this was an abundant population. And there's still also the question of like, where are these Middle Eastern people coming from? Because they are very distinct from white men. It is very easy to tell the difference between someone who looks like, I keep on thinking of Osama bin Laden for some reason, but I'm going to use him, Osama bin Laden versus Bill Clinton. I can very much easily tell the difference between them. Why is that? And the simplest answer, is because Middle Eastern people are evolved and they have their skin changed and adapted to the environment of the Middle East, which is why they look different from Europeans and they look different from Africans.
yeah,
yeah,
and also
brother.
yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, the thing is with the E1B1A, brother, from my research, I try to, study the data and cross reference with the data. The brothers don't that are talking about there's some distinction between E1B1A and E1B1B are frankly idiots, and they do not understand the data. E1B1A comes from a branch of EV38, but they changed the name, they changed the names around, but this is a population that came down the Rift Valley, and it is documented as a Kushite population. They come down the Rift Valley, they penetrate into Cameroon, and once they penetrate into Cameroon, they mate and they gestate with the local women, but they are already black Afro-Arabians coming down the Rift Valley, but they call them Kushites. This is why we find the deepest branch of the Afro-Asiatic language is in Cushitic, but it is Afro-Asiatic. They come down the Rift Valley. Many of us are familiar with the story of the Kushites coming down the Rift Valley, but we don't know that these are Afro-Arabians. That's the problem. And even before in E1B1A and E1B1B, EM96 is the base of the E markers. That base, in my opinion, according to the data, that base comes out of Arabia. The earliest branch that we see is in the Dogon. in Mali. That is a 50,000-year-old E marker that is like first early peeling off of EM96. This is before E1B1A and before E1B1B. Then we see the population of E1B1, E1B1 with nothing on it. We see it split, go up and produce Ibero-Maurusians in Northwest Africa and Natufians and mixed with Natufians in East Africa and the Levant and Arabia, because the entire population of Arabia was flooded with E's at the time. Then we have other mutations and haplogroups due to sexual selection, climate, and diet. That's what mostly affects mutation: sexual selection, climate, and diet. But long before E1B1A, we got to deal with the Dogon. They peeled off the earliest, and the Dogon cosmology relates to the Holy Quran. The Dogon cosmology mentions the star, well, many cosmologies mention the star Sirius, but in particular, the star Sirius is mentioned in Surah 53 of the Holy Quran, Ayat 49. It is like, in my opinion, it's confluence, cultural confluence. Old. The Dogon creator sky god is Amu Dagon. That's the Dogon creator sky god. Now, the Dogon cluster with Afro-Asiatic language speakers, but they speak Niger Congo. Why would they cluster genetically with Afro-Asiatic language speakers, but speak Niger Congo? It's because they've been there for so long and they took on the local language. That's my opinion. That's my take on it, brother.
Yeah. Also, you have to divide. Now, I try to tell people this all the time, but it's like they get mad at me when I tell them, and they get, and they get somewhat offended, but you have to distinguish Kush from Ethiopia. Now, Kush is
good one, Radio One.
Yeah. Kush is before, the Egyptian conquest of Kush. Ethiopia is after the Egyptian conquest of Kush. So it's like, Ethiopia is more tied to the empire it's more tied to the pharaonic empire of the 18th dynasty. Now, and a lot of people who make these claims, saying that the ancient Egyptians went nowhere and all that, they do not know how empires work. Empires do not work like that. Okay, when they say, I heard the claim that ancient Egyptians went nowhere, but actually it was the opposite. Okay, because empires do not work like that. Okay, what is an empire? An empire, an empire. Okay, it is like different territories and lands that's ruled by one ruler. Okay, and these different territories are what we call colonies. Okay, what is colonies? Colonies are settlements, different settlements that's under the authority of one ruler, because that ruler sent out these colonies. So it's like, Egypt, was like the Washington DC of Africa in ancient times. Okay, because it was like the capital of Africa, and it sent out many colonies. That's how empires work. Okay, and for example, okay, you can't just like you can't confuse modern day Egypt with the Islamic conquest. Now we know that during the Islamic conquest, that was an empire. That was the Islamic empire. Okay, that was established in Mecca. And from that, they were on the move. They went to Egypt, and from Egypt they went to Libya, then to Algeria, to Morocco, and later on they even made their way down into West Africa. Okay, and that is due to them being the rise of an empire. Okay, that is due to the rise of their empire and conquest. But we don't see that today. We don't see modern Egyptians, going back and forth, settling in Africa, because the empire and the conquest was already done with, and it was due to this empire and conquest that these colonies settled in Africa. It was the same thing with the Persians. When the Persians rose to power and they began as an empire, guess what they did? They conquered the West, they conquered the East, they conquered the South. And then later on, this empire ended, and you hear no more of that. Same thing with the Assyrians. But the ancient Egyptians were the first to do it. Okay, and that's what you have to understand, that when Ethiopia has more to do with with the expansion and the extending of the ancient Egyptian empire, which extended from the Nile Valley to the Atlantic Ocean, and from Egypt, from Egypt all the way south to the land of Punt, okay, and Kush, in that area, and that's a establishment of the ancient Egyptian empire. And and they did have settlements in these regions, because they were in control of like the gold and the like the sources, the mineral sources in that area. Like even the Ghana Empire, when it speaks of the founders of the Ghana Empire, it speaks of the king of Ghana as the king of gold, and they speak of the ancestors of the Ghana Empire coming from the Nile Valley. They were descendants of the Nubians. And who were the Nubians? The Nubians were called the gold people, because they went to West Africa, searching for gold, and that is what caused this caravan road from Egypt to West Africa. It was started by the Egyptians, and it was an empire, and it was during this time, during the prime of Egypt power, which is the 18th dynasty, is the only time where you hear of the ancient Egyptians saying that they conquered all lands. They conquered the whole earth, from east to west to north to south, to the ends of the earth, and this is the time when this took place, but you have modern day Egyptologists, they take this and twist it, and just bring about confusion. But yes, that is the case. That is the truth about empires. Okay, the empire of Egypt today is gone. Okay, the Islamic empire, it faded away. Persia, Assyria, it faded away. But those empires established colonies and throughout parts of the world. Okay, and just like perfect example, when we speak in modern day terms, okay, America was founded by Portuguese during the time of the Portuguese Empire. During the time of the British Empire, what did they do? They sent out colonies to America, which was known as the 13 colonies, or and it ended up growing and expanding. But it was during this time of the British Empire, the Portuguese Empire, that they went out and sent colonies to settle. And the same thing with Rome. Rome, during the time of Caesar, sent out colonies, because it was during the time of the empire. And even in West Africa, Ghana, when Ghana was an empire, they sent armies all throughout West Africa. They sent armies to the north, south, east, and west. And that's how empires work. Okay, people do not just sit still in empires. Okay, the empires, empires, people cause movement. The rise of empires and the rise of power. This caused a great movement, and this is the sole reason why many of us are where we at today. This is the main reason why many Africans are in America. And because of the rise of empires.
Okay. Now, please hold that thought, brother Radio One. We have Magi Commander on the panel. Welcome, and feel free to speak if you want to add on to the conversation.
Hotel brothers.
Hotel,
right now.
Hotel.
How's everybody doing, man? I'm just listening for right now.
All right, well, chilling. Well, whenever you want to interact, then feel free. Well, keep going, brothers. I'm listening.
yeah, and that's that's why yeah, a very strange and false interpretation is being told about history today because these guys do not understand how empires work. Okay, now empires, when the pharaohs send out armies, okay, those armies when the pharaohs send out armies to other lands, those armies stay in those lands. Okay, they do not come back. Okay, because that's how empires work. They have to follow the orders of the pharaoh. And that's how so many colonies of Egypt were established in other parts of Africa. And the best proof of this is the Egyptian temples in Sudan today. Proves that that when the ancient Egyptians went out, they settled and established colonies and mixed and mingled with the Africans already there. There were Africans already there, and we know, thanks to the ancient Egyptian records, we know that the people to the south were called Cushites. They were,
Yes.
they were the people already there. And the people further south, okay, along the Red Sea, were called the people of Punt in the Horn of Africa. So it's like the proof is there. People say, when you speak of this ancient Kemet and West Africa thing, why we can't find any artifacts in West Africa? Because the artifacts is the artifacts, the evidence is in Egypt. You have to go to the records to see, and point out where the direction that Egypt, that the direction that the Egyptians went. That's how you prove it. And so far as like these other fields of study, E1B1A, the haplogroups, DNA, and all that. That's in a category within its own. That's dealing with people maybe 30, 40,000, over 50,000 years ago or whatnot. But that has that has little to do with the movement and the rise of empires. Of the ancient Egyptian empire. And I own the Ancient Records of Egypt, Volume 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I read it over and over again. I studied it, and I know these other squads like Dagger Squad and all the rest of those idiots, they didn't, you cannot expect me to believe that they actually sit down and read, okay? Because they, all the garbage they talk,
They don't.
I can't believe that, I
Mm-mm.
can't believe that, but it's like when they talk this nonsense, they are insulting our intelligence. They're
Yep.
insulting our intelligence. The people who actually sit down and read and study this stuff, they're insulting our intelligence, saying that we are wrong, and they haven't they haven't read or studied one page of history. But but rather they rather get on their videos or live stream and just talk a bunch of garbage all day.
And
And
I
when someone come challenges them, they cower it out. Oh yeah, but go ahead, brother.
I
Let's
think
try
it's
to let's try to be
good.
diplomatic, however, brothers. Go ahead, brother Alfazari.
Uh, I just think it's important too. Like you talked about Nubia and the gold trade, and we had Ghana on the other end with gold trade. Uh, and 4,000 years ago, it's documented that the Sahel was green, meaning that it was fertile. It's not the landscape that we see now, which is called the Sahara Desert. It was green. So we can imagine these two, one on the east, one on the west, both controlling trade in gold. There were people moving backwards and forwards. And if if we tell a teenager today, son, don't mess around with none of those girls, out there while we traveling, the odds that he's going to listen to us are slim if he sees something that he like or he get the opportunity to do so. So blood was mixed, you know what I mean? And people are like ignoring the human condition. You have the Sahel was basically a huge trade route. It was fertile. The Lake Chad was double the size that it is now, so it was plenty of water. You have rivers running backwards and forwards. You have dried up riverbeds. evidence of dried up riverbeds crossing the Sahel, you know, brothers are not really getting into the information and really looking at the human condition. You know, our people intermixed throughout, and Arabia, in my opinion, was black. The Sahel culture jumped over the Red Sea. That's why we see the Prophet Salih. And when we look at the word Sahel, I mean, it's dang on almost the same word. You know what I mean? Because it's remnants of old contacts and old remnants of or eponymous ancestors. You know, in my opinion.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Yeah. Good point, Afro Asiatic. Yeah. Yeah. I also apologize about that, brother Shaka. You know, calling them, you know, the Dagger Squad idiots. But I, you
Oh,
know, I just, yeah,
you don't have to apologize, brother.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. But
everybody's
you
their
know, I
own
get,
man. But I'm just saying
yeah,
that
yeah,
let's
yeah.
try. Let's try. You know,
Yeah,
let's try.
you know, but I
Yeah.
just, you know, I get angry every time I think about those guys, you know, like when I'm saying when I go on their videos, man, like, you know, I stay on there for like maybe a couple seconds and I just, you know, I just cut off because I can't sit up there and listen to that, I lose brain cells, you know, my you know, and listening to that makes your IQ lower, you know, so I just, you know, I can't listen to it, you know, I see an interesting topic, but, you know, but as soon as I tune in, you know, I'm just hearing a bunch of nonsense, you know, and I can't listen to that. But yeah, you know, but that's but as I was saying, you know, that's how empires work, you know. I was going to make another point, but yeah, it kind of slipped away from me. But yeah, but what brother Afro Asian Addict was,
I don't cut your wisdom.
yeah,
So sorry about that.
yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, but you know, it's people just have to learn to take a deeper look at things, you know, instead of going by opinions and emotion, you know, just read and study the sources and you'll see the truth, you know, and yeah, but yeah, and that's, you know, and these guys, you know, they have their own beliefs, they follow certain fields of study that, you know, that causes them to be closed-minded, you know, and just, you know, disregard anything else, you know. But it's I mean, but at the end of the day, you know, I blame it on on racism, you know, because it was racism, lies, and hatred that started this whole thing, you know. Now, when we speak on you know, ancient Egyptians, you know, as an empire, ancient Egypt as an empire migrating into other parts of Africa, you know, that's way after the foundation of Egypt. You know, we know that the foundation of Egypt, the founders of Egypt came from the Sudan region, you know, in the area of Kush, you know, at a time when Egypt had no temples, no pyramids, or none of that, you know, when they was not an empire, you know. And it's like, you know, that makes me wonder if Egypt did not have Egypt had not built these pyramids, temples, and statues, and, you know, would they be trying to separate Egypt from Africa then? You know, then I would say, you know, they would have no problem saying that Egypt isn't Africa, you know, if those pyramids and temples were, you know, weren't in, you know, was not in Africa, you know. I would say that, but being that, you know, that great empire was in Africa, you know, they tried to separate it from Africa, you know. And yeah, but you know, it's yeah, we have to, you know, we have to go by what the records say. You know, there's a lot of strange beliefs going around, and, you know, and you know, people have their personal agendas, you know, and they either don't tell the truth about what they read, or they just don't read at all, you know, and they talk and they just go by what they heard from somebody, or you know, or just make up things based on their own imagination. But, you know, it is what it is, you know. And every field of study, you know, brings something to the table, you know. But we can't just say this one field of study has all the answers, and reject the other field of the field of study. You know, we gotta try to bring them all together and get answers from all of them.
That's right.
Well, yeah, Afroasiatic said something very interesting about the star Sirius. I want to get back to that because I just think it's interesting to talk about that star. But I kind of understand what Afroasiatic is saying. He thinks that like somehow Black people have this past in that region of the world. My question is, isn't like sort of let's just say that could be true? Isn't that just a manifestation of the fact that Islam and the Islamic faith and like other Abrahamic faiths, okay, I'll be honest there, is just the result of Black people being conquered by these Arabs, right? If you look at the conquests that happened, the religious conquests, the jihads that happened, it is people from that region of the world coming into Africa, and in one way or another. For example, Mansa Musa, right? So wealthy, he went to Egypt and he inflated the value of gold, right? Gold was worthless because he had so much gold. He spent so much, it collapsed their economy, right? He converted to Islam of free will because he thought it sounded good. But a lot of these people exposed to the Moors and this like huge conquering group during around like the 1400s, right? They were able to conquer Europe, right? And they were able to penetrate into some places in Africa. So isn't that just another manifestation of sort of like this reaction of, I'd say like, it's almost as if like, when Christians, when they read about Christianity, they want the image of Black Jesus, right? Even though Christians were the ones who enslaved Black people, which is the reason why we would believe in that religion anyways. I just don't understand why an African would want to claim their heritage in this foreign place with these foreign people, when we have our own heritage in Africa, whether that be East Africa, West Africa, we all have our own heritage in Africa. So why is it that we want to claim, Afro, Asiatic or Black Asiatic? Like that's our identity when we already have sort of a home that is like well documented.
Yeah, I don't know if Afro-Asiatic heard that, but he's yeah, you're on mute, Afro-Asiatic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see the brother's point, and brother, I know I wouldn't even be a real dude if I sat up here and said that Islam spread throughout Africa in a kumbaya style, and I would be less than honest if I said that some people like Mansa Musa didn't accept it willingly. We have both cases, in all honesty, when we look at the historical record. But the thing with the Dogon is that the Dogon cosmology predates anything that the Europeans could come up with. And it is more accurate when it comes to the star Sirius than anything. Well, the European caught up to the Dogon cosmology. But the thing is, the accuracy of their movement of the star Sirius, which is 49.9 years for the elliptical crossing of Sirius A, Sirius B, they're catching up to that is already locked into the Holy Quran as well in chapter 53, verse 49. And then when we do a little further study, we find out that verse 9 is also related to verse 49. So we see 49.9 years. It's a bit of an advanced study of the Quran. That some might say is more of an esoteric understanding, but the mathematics is so sound that I can't come to any other conclusion. It is right and exact, and it is consistent with the Dogon cosmology. It is consistent with the notion that the Dogon actually hail from this area of the world. Their DNA says so. So it's not just, my whimsical opinion or simply because, as you can see in these discourses, I rarely even mention scripture because that's not I can elaborate on scripture, but I know that brothers at this level of reasoning are not impressed with scripture. So I come with etymology, linguistics, DNA to prove what I was taught. That's just my opinion.
Right, right. And I wouldn't have even known you were a Muslim until now. Now I guess you are a Muslim.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, the Dogon stuff, it's actually real. I'm looking at a source on it. This culture did follow Sirius. The ancient Egyptians also did follow Sirius. It's
Correct.
one of the brightest stars, isn't it?
Correct.
But yeah, they had this belief that because you have a heliacal rising, which just means that this thing is going to rise just before the sun. So you see it in the night sky just before sunrise. And when that happens, that is when the Nile flood will happen. So their years are
Yes.
based off of this star. So it's very interesting to look at ancient. I mean, I couldn't do astrology, right? Like I have a whole math degree, but I'm not astrology, astronomy, right? Like astronomy and like looking at the stars and mapping them out, but like for times and dates, for me seems very complicated. So it's amazing that these
Wow,
cultures,
brother, a math degree? Wow.
yeah, it's amazing that these cultures are able to sort of do that, and we think of them as like primitive and whatnot, but no, they were really. It's just that we've gotten a little bit dumber. I think like the average person.
I agree
Is
with
not
you.
on the level of no. If you look at the smartest people in their civilizations, I don't think that the average person in ours, even though we have access to more information, would be able to really match up in what they're able to do. But I think that when it comes to looking at sort of like, okay, is Allah mentioned sort of like in ancient Egypt somewhere or something like that, which is like what started this conversation. I don't know if it's necessary, right? Like people have their religious beliefs, and just because someone else said something doesn't mean that it's necessarily true. But you should, I think we should not look for it. You know what I mean? Like if it's there, it's there. If Pharaoh Thutmose III said Allah Akbar, I think it would be strange because he's older than the language of Arabic, and he's older than the religion of Islam. So
Yeah.
it would be really weird. But
And
maybe
I'm sorry. Just want to say, it's not just a matter of being older than Arabic. The main point is that Arabic was not even in existence
Not
Yes.
at
at
that
all.
time period. Yes.
yes. So Arabic
That,
wasn't in existence.
that's questionable though, because we have
No.
scholarship. We have scholarship. Well, my interest is in the Afro-Asiatic language family, because when we look at Berber language, when we look at Hausa language, we are looking at languages that are far older than Kemet. And if we look to the Berber language and we find the word ALA in the Berber language is, well, we would pronounce it Allah today, but in the Berber language, guess what it meant? Anybody know what Allah, what ALA means in the Berber language?
Does
It
it
also
mean
means
or something? I
it
don't know.
means the most high in Arabic, but in the Berber language, it means the brain.
Oh.
So,
Which is not the same thing. Brother,
but I'm
Afro-Asiatic,
talking
what
about,
language are you talking about when you say Berber language?
when I say Berber language, I'm talking about Berber language. When we look at the
No, but
Berber language,
it has to have a
Hausa,
name. It's Berber.
it's
It's like,
Berber.
well, Berber's, well, there's not one language. There's it's not precise enough.
Right. Okay. Well, we could possibly narrow it down and unpack it more. But in Berber language, Allah, which is older, well, for some, is older than Arabic. It means the brain. Then we see, lo and behold, in Arabic, Hebrew, we see it means the Most High. And then we see verses in the Quran where it says Allah is closer to us than our jugular vein. That's the main vein running down from the brain.
No,
So
look,
it's
look,
a lot of
just
cultural overlap and consistency within the language.
Just for clarification's purposes, now this is Britannica 2012, and there we are told that the major Amazigh languages include Shilha or Tashelhit. There is also Tarifit. There is also Kabil. There is also Tamazight. There is also Tamahak. So those are just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But whatever language is older than Medu Neter, I would like to know which one it is. But as far as you're concerned, how old is Arabic then?
Arabic. Well, Shaka, I read a lot of different linguists, that deal with Afro-Asiatic language, and I don't just
Because
get caught up on Arabic alone,
Because but the thing is that you objected when we stated that the Arabic was not even in existence at the time of whatever pharaoh that was, but the pharaoh of the Exodus, we could say it will be between circa 1500 BC to 1200 BC. That gives us a large enough gap. And what I'm stating, and I might be wrong. Somebody might prove me wrong, but what I'm stating is that Arabic was not even in existence at that time.
Well,
right. So to be fair to Afro-Asiatic,
Didanic is a form of Arabic. Safic is a form of Arabic, and when we look at the grammar of Canaanite is more Arabic than modern day Hebrew.
Don't do this, brother. Don't do this, brother. Don't do this, brother.
Yeah, I think
I'm going to do it.
Okay. Go ahead, Hassan. Go ahead.
Classical Arabic is 1500 years old, right? And then there's like other languages that you could say Arabic sprung from, but none of them are Arabic, right? So like you would have to map every single one of those languages to be able to say like, oh, we see this here and we see that here. But I mean, nonetheless, we know that the ancient Egyptians had no notion of Allah because they believed in multiple gods. And the one guy who tried to make them believe in one God and one God only, his dynasty ended right after him, right? It was Akhenaten, and then he had his son Tut. Who believe it's his son? We don't know for sure. And then they were done. They were done.
It was in the same field, man, with Ra and Amun Ra. It was the same. It was almost the same thing. It wasn't that he took one God and like separated, the one God from everything. It wasn't like that. It's not as simple as that. You had to kind of read the text in order to, to figure that part out. Can I point something out though? The Dogon say that they are the descendants of Kush. I mean, not Kushite, but of Kemetic priests.
Correct. That is correct.
Right. So now you understand that the Kushite Empire expanded all the way over into India, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, as far as I think when it comes down to the I would say the what's the word I'm looking for? The lighter skinned Arabians in the third, you do have a mix up of people up there. But then you have to look at certain invasions in the third in order to like say, well, these people were the light-skinned Arabs and these people were the dark-skinned Arabs. I mean, of course, we already know if the Kushite kingdom stretched all the way into India, then we already know that all of that up there basically were black people. Okay,
yes, sir.
They were African people. You know what I mean? I had to agree with him there on that issue. Now further down the road, that's different. Now, when it comes down to Arabic, this is where you and I go clash at a little bit, because from my understanding, that's an AD people. You understand what I'm saying? Like they don't have a collective. There's not a collective language. And if you know anything about Christianity, which was actually, of course, coming off the Romans, from my understanding, the situation with Muhammad and everybody else basically came from under that because they were not comfortable with how that was situated. I mean, I can go in depth about, about the name Allah. I can't agree with you there as far as it being an ancient Kemet, because Arabic wasn't around at the time.
On Akhenaten and like what he did, I think what you're saying is that the different gods which the Egyptians believed in were subsumed into Akhenaten, right? Like they're just aspects of him or whatever. And
go ahead, Hassan.
Well, you're gonna clarify. Just go ahead, clarify.
Well, I was gonna say but this is the thing. Every different sector of Africa had its chief gods and then its lesser gods. Okay, so that's the thing. Like they like to lump everything up into one situation, then put their own spin on it.
Yeah, so like for example, at Thebes, you would have Amun be the main god, and then eventually when the 18th dynasty came around and they came from Thebes, they said, all right, he's the main god, he's the big guy, he's the god of gods. And then like in other places like Memphis, or what did they call it? Was it like, I forgot what it's called, but anyways, in Memphis, they would have like Ptah be the main god of the primordial god, right? And then all the other gods are just aspects of him. But, Akhenaten did a little different than what the ancient Egyptians were used to, because he said, yeah, we're going to stop this. Like he literally moved the capital from Thebes because he hated the priest of like Amun Ra. And like he said that like Ra is an aspect of a 10, but we all need to worship a 10, and you all need to worship me to worship a 10. And like I think that it was more monotheistic in that it was very much exclusionary for like how people should worship and like what they should believe in, right? And like that's what the ancient Egyptians sort of hated about what he was doing, because before it's like it's all these gods, choose your own adventure, and he was like, no, there's one. But even then, you couldn't really say that like he was associated with Allah and the things about Allah. And like the ancient Egyptians, according to like, the Abrahamic tradition, were like demonized, right? Like 100%. You can't look at that as like a pro ancient Egyptian text, because it said that they were horrible slavers who put people in terrible conditions, which is not historically accurate. So it's hard to reconcile those two. But like also, if we look at the cultures and like how the ancient Egyptians treated one another and how they viewed women, it is completely disparate between what you see in like the Islamic world, the Christian world, or even the Jewish world, right? Women in ancient Egypt had a status that today some might call like, oh, this is sort of feminist, right? Women were not men's absolute equals. A man would still be the head of his household, but women could own property. They could go to court. They could marry who they wanted to, right? And so women were treated as humans in ancient Egyptian society, whereas today in Saudi Arabia, a woman can't drive. So therefore, cultural values disparate from the Islamic, Christian, and Judaic worlds.
The key thing though is you're talking about today though, brother. That's the key thing. But when we look at Arabia in antiquity, we see queens. We see that they had many queens, not only just kings. There were many queens, which is a Kushite practice. We got to keep in mind that when we look at John D. Baldwin, he calls the Kaaba of Mecca a Kushite monument. So we really need to alter the perception of the entire peninsula when we look at it from a black perspective, because it was definitely black at one time. And that monument is African.
It is said that the Arabs used to bury their daughters alive because
this is true.
Valuable.
Yeah,
is that an African thing, brother?
But you go back when you go back further than that, we see queens, Zebibibi. We see all of these different. The Kedarites were identified through their queens. early on. This is
You know, brother.
reminiscent. It's the truth,
But,
brother.
but can we really say that because
Black
a
Arab
population,
queens.
but can we really say that because a population had some queens that it makes them black, that they had to be black because they had queens? Can we really say
Well,
that?
we would have to go to the Marib Dam and look at the inscriptions of Abraha, where he says Bismi Rahman, which is reminiscent of the most repeated verse of the Holy Quran, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. But he just says Bismi Rahman. He was definitely Cushite. He was definitely in South
But
Arabia.
what makes him Kushat? I
That's
don't
on.
understand.
No,
You go
that's
from saying
period.
because they
Yes.
had queens, they were black. Now you're saying because he said Rahman, they were black, and I don't understand the logic.
Well, you don't know that Abraha was a black man? None of us here understand that Abraha was a black Cushite, Ethiopian?
Abraham, you mean Abraham or
No,
somebody
I
else?
mean Abraha.
Who's that?
Abraha of South Arabia, of the Himyarites.
Uh,
Dunawas and Assad, which means the perfect black. We can't deduce that. No one
I
here
don't
is
know about
familiar
that.
with Abraha.
No, can you spell the name for me?
Abraha, just like that. He put the inscription on the Marib Dam, Bismi Rahman, on the Marib Dam. Rahman is the most repeated verse in the Quran.
Well, can I say something while Shaka's looking that up?
Hold on. Just one moment. Now, brother, Afro-Asiatic, I just had a quick look about Abraha, and he says that he was also known as Abraha al-Ashram. He was an Aksumite, and the Aksumite, that's from the kingdom of Aksum. So it doesn't say that he was an Arab.
Look at the. I said that he was a Cushite. I said that he was a Cushite, Himyarite,
Okay.
South Arabian.
Brother. Just before I let, I don't know if it was Majai Commander who wanted to speak, but what is the language that you speak? What is the Afro-Asiatic language that you speak?
No, I don't speak any Afro-Asiatic language.
Didn't you write that in the chat earlier?
No, brother. I think that was probably some miscommunication.
Okay, well, it was a misunderstanding. So was it Majai Commander who wanted to speak?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, brother.
Okay, when it comes down to the African gods in the African way, man, all of our gods had goddesses, even up to the supreme being. You seeing what I'm saying? Like Atum had no, I'm sorry, Amen had Amenet. You see what I'm saying? And on down. So when it comes down to Arab, it comes down to Islam. I've never actually seen an Islamic goddess. A queen, okay, but goddesses though, that's two different situations.
Yeah,
Well, before Islam,
I'm
they had
sure.
goddesses.
Yeah, I'm sure that brother Shaka could help us out with that with a lot.
Well, I mean, I understand a lot, but yeah, that's a story.
That's pre-Islamic. Yeah, she was a goddess.
Right.
Actually, Runoko Rashidi wrote, and I think it's in the golden age of the Moor. Runoko Rashidi wrote, Allah was the greatest.
Right.
Which today would not be accepted at all. But yes, they did have goddesses. They did have goddesses before Islam. Brother Majai,
yes.
I wanted to ask you earlier. You mentioned the Kushite Empire.
Yes.
But which empire are you talking about exactly?
The Kushite Empire, as far as like from that stretch from, let me see.
Like what time period? Like what was
this was before before and during the first periods of Egypt when they sent them out as a colony.
So what time period would that be?
Around the first, let me see, before the first dynasty of Egypt.
Oh, okay, that's very ancient. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So because
But what makes you say that during that time period, the Arabs were black?
well, I'm not exactly saying. I mean, this okay. All right, let's straighten this out. Because I'm not exactly. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say that the Arabs were black. The reason being, there were some Africans who ran the situation. Now, if you had all of these European or European-esque type people who started coming down raiding, that is why I said you have to look at the different raids during this time. You see what I'm saying? Because see, if you looked into, have you ever read the the um, the autobiography of Counselor Winnie?
Yeah, no, not this one. No.
Oh, you'll love that one. This is where he explained the whole campaign against this quote unquote sand dweller, the Asiatic. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll get that for you, and you can share this. Hold on, let me get it for you. Oh yeah, you'll love this one.
Hmm. Okay. Now you've muted yourself. I don't know if it was on purpose, but Majai, you've muted yourself. Maybe it was on purpose because he's looking for something. For strange reason, everybody's muted.
Yeah, it was on purpose. I was looking for something.
Okay.
I didn't want any noise or anything, and you guys could go while I was looking. I've got it. I got it now, though.
Okay. Oh yes, I've received the link.
Yeah, you'll love that one, Shock.
So, Winnie. Okay, so let me share this.
Mm-hmm.
Share screen. So that Winnie. Okay.
This is one of my favorite weapons right here, bro.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read this.
Take it. Okay, that was a court situation up top there. Go down some more. No. No. Go back up. A little bit more.
Well, I might as well read it all.
Right there.
I'll read it all.
Go
There's
ahead.
no rush. So, the autobiography of Weni comes from his mastaba tomb at Abydos. When he served during the first three kings of the sixth dynasty, he rose from humble beginnings up through the royal court to eventually become a friend of Pepi I. And by the way, something that I usually do, but I forgot now. So, autobiography of Weni. So everybody has it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, where was I? Oh, yes. Okay, so to eventually become a friend of Pepi I, he was appointed governor of the south under Mer Enre. Well, it's probably Mer Enra, successor of Pepi I, in his role as a judge when he was to hear the case against Queen Weret Imtes, in the trial of the Harim conspiracy. Following this, when he was to lead an army of tens of thousands against the Bedouin in northern Sinai. He would defeat the enemy 5 times. Once back in Egypt, he was put in charge of bringing stone up from the quarries for the royal pyramid. In doing so, he will need to cut 5 channels to bypass the first cataract. The Count, governor of Upper Egypt, Chamberlain, warden of Neken, mayor of Nekeb, sole companion that's Semer Wati. And Semer is the word for companion or friend. Now, soul, that's Wati. It can be translated as unique. For strange reason, you have, now I'm not saying it derives from that, but in Arabic you have Wahed. Wahid, that's one. In Medunecha, that's Wa. Semer is the word for friend or companion. In Arabic is Samir. So it's quite similar, but that was just for the record. I
Correct.
digress. So, sole companion, honored by Osiris, foremost of the Westerners, when he says, I was a fillet wearing youth under the majesty of King Teti, my office being that of custodian of the storehouse when I became inspector of tenants of the palace. When I had become overseer that would be Emira, most likely. And there was a word that we use in English, Emir, that comes from Arabic Emir, but that's just for the record. So, where was I? Under king. Hold on. I've lost my flow. So under the majesty of King Teti, my office being that of custodian of the storehouse, when I become inspector, no, I read that already. Okay, overseer, that's what I was. Overseer of the robing room, under the majesty of King Pepi, His Majesty gave me the rank of companion and inspector of priests of his pyramid town. While my office was that of, His Majesty made me senior warden of Nekhen, his heart being filled with me beyond any other servant of his. I heard cases along with the chief judge and vizier concerning all kinds of secrets. In Middle Nature, secret is Seshta. And some people amazingly are trying to do linguistic acrobatics and using the term Heri Seshta to say that this is the origin of Christos. But hey, I digress.
Boy.
So His Majesty made me senior warden of Nekhen, his heart being filled. No, I was there. Secrets. I acted in the name of the king for the royal harem and for the 6 great houses, because His Majesty's heart was filled with me beyond any official of his, any noble of his, any servant of his. When I begged of the majesty of my lord that there be brought for me a sarcophagus of white stone from Tura, His Majesty had a royal seal bearer crossed over with a company of sailors under his command to bring me the sarcophagus from Tura. It came with him in great barge of the court, together with its lid, a doorway, lintel, 2 dual jams, and a libation table. Never before, now, libation table, we can tell that it goes way, 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 way back. Now, there's quite a few libation vase or table that I have filmed, but they are quite recent. I haven't seen the one that he's talking about, but this is mentioned, and we were told that it's about the time period of the 6th dynasty. And what's very interesting, some people might have not seen the video when I talked about libation, but this is something that is done in a lot of parts of Africa, and I'm pretty sure that African Americans pouring out liquor is a direct remnant of this culture.
That's
see?
Yes, sir.
So now, where was I? Libation. Where was it? Okay, I'll do a search a bit quicker. There it is. Libation table. Never before had the like been done for any servant, but I was excellent in His Majesty's heart. I was rooted in His Majesty's heart. His Majesty's heart was filled with me. While I was senior warden of Nekhen, His Majesty made me a sole companion and overseer of the royal tenants. I replaced 4 overseers of royal tenants who were there. I acted for His Majesty's praise in guarding, escorting the king, and attending. I acted throughout so that His Majesty praised me for it exceedingly. When there was a secret charge in the royal harem against Queen Weret Yamtes, His Majesty made me go into here alone. No chief judge and vizier, no official was there, only I alone, because I was worthy. because I was rooted in His Majesty's heart, because His Majesty had filled his heart with me. Only I put it in writing with one other senior warden of Necken, while my rank was only that of overseer of royal tenants. Never before had one like me heard a secret of the king's harem, but His Majesty made me hear it because I was worthy in His Majesty's heart beyond any official of his, beyond any noble of his, beyond any servant of his. Now, before I continue, you notice that there's a lot of sentences or formulas that are very repetitive, and that's why in some of my videos, when I go through museums, and for those who take the classes, I often state that this is the kind of formula that happens very often, like Uncle Neb, was Neb, or the Uncle Mira, given life like Ra. In the middle lecture, or let's say on the text, particularly on stele, you do have some formulas like that come up very often. You know, Nebtawi, master of the two lands, and so on. Those are the kind of thing that comes very, very often. So,
Yes.
Servant of his, and when His Majesty took action against the Asiatic sand dwellers, His Majesty made an army of many tens of thousands from all Upper Egypt, from Yebu in the south to Medinit in the north, from Lower Egypt, from all of the two sides of the house, and from Sejer and Chen Sejru, and from Irtjet, Nubians. It's funny that they put the traditional names and they put Nubians,
Yeah,
but it's okay.
Nubians, I know, right?
They did a funny mix there.
They love to separate.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So maybe the original text has Nehisi or Tanihisiu or something like that. So,
I doubt that. I gotta doubt it.
so what do you think it says?
I don't think it's there, period. Because I'm like, how is Nehisi and Nubian the same when there was a king? Was his name King Nubian? I you know what I'm saying? I don't get that.
Well, you know, eventually we might come across that text, because if it was translated, it means that the text is somewhere. So eventually we might.
I think
Because
that,
you know there's a translation where they use the word Negro instead of using Nubian.
right.
And the video, what's the video? Maybe it's I don't know if it's the video Asiatic defeat, but anyway, I digress. So, Medjay Nubians, Yam Nubians, Wawat Nubians, Kao Nubians, and from Cheme land. His Majesty sent me at the His Majesty sent me at the head of this army. There being counts, royal seal bearers, sole companions of the palace, chieftains and mayors of towns of Upper and Lower Egypt, companions, scout leaders, chief priests of Upper and Lower Egypt, and chief district officials at the head of the troops of Upper and Lower Egypt, from the villages and towns that they governed, and from the Nubians of those foreign lands. I was the one who commanded them, while my rank was that of overseer of royal tenants, because of my rectitude, so that no one attacked his fellow, so that no one seized a loaf or sandal from a traveler, so that no one took a cloth from any town, so that no one took a goat from anyone. And before I continue, there are two things that I want to highlight. The first thing is the accuracy and the detail in description.
Yes.
As for the people who are there and so on, this is 6th dynasty. That's very, very ancient. That's like
You'll love it as you go on, Doc. You'll love it, trust me.
Yeah, and the second thing, you just heard, to make sure that not a sandal is stolen, not a loaf. Now loaf, that's loaf of bread.
Exactly.
See? And not a piece of cloth. So this text differs greatly with the portrayal of the ancient Egyptians, or in the Arabic, the Abrahamic literature. That's just for the record. So I led them from Northern Isle and gate of Ehotep in the district of Heru, Lord of Truth, while being in this rank. I determined the number of these troops. It had never been determined by any servant. This army returned in safety. It had ravaged the sand dwellers' land. This army returned in safety. It had flattened the sand dwellers' land. This army returned in safety. It had sacked its strongholds. I will not repeat this army returned in safety because it was the same. It had cut down its figs, its vines. It had thrown fire in all its mansions. It had slain its troop by many 10,000s. It had carried off many troops as captives. And for the record, wherever you have something in bracket like this, it most likely mean that on the text it cannot be read. But this is like a, you can call it an educated guess.
Right.
Once again, there's some formulas or some things that people have reasons to be able to guess what you actually said. Now, His Majesty praised me for it beyond anything. His Majesty sent me to lead this army 5 times to attack the land of the sand dwellers as often as they rebelled. With these troops, I acted so that His Majesty praised me. Told there were marauders among these foreigners, that the nose Gaza's head across in ships with these troops. I made a landing in the back of the height of the mountain range to the north of the land of the sand dwellers, while half of this army was on a road. I came and caught them all, to every marauder among them. When I was chamberlain of the palace and sandal bearer, King Merenra, my lord, who lives forever, so that would be Jet, you see, and obviously leaves, that would be Ankh. So I wonder if he actually it's actually Redi Ankh Jet, but people might translate that in many different ways. Many times it's translated as given life. But anyway, that's for those who take the middle nature classes. So, my Lord who lives forever made me count and governor of Upper Egypt from Yebu in the south to Medinet in the north, because I was worthy in His Majesty's heart. Let me. Well, do you think there's more to read there? Because it's a bit repetitive so far.
Yeah, it's more. It's more. It's more.
There's more. Okay, I will go on then. So I governed Upper Egypt for him in peace, so that no one attacked his fellow. I did every task. I counted everything that is countable for the residents in this Upper Egypt 2 times, and every service that is countable for the residents in this Upper Egypt 2 times. I did a perfect job in this Upper Egypt. Never before had the like been done in this Upper Egypt. I acted throughout so that His Majesty praised me for it.
Yeah,
His Majesty, yeah, okay. His Majesty sent me to Ebat to bring the sarcophagus, chest of the living, together with its lead and the costly august pyramidion of the pyramid. Merenra appears in splendor. Now, appears in splendor, for those who take the classes, that's probably there's probably Chai or maybe Chayu, Chai or maybe Hau. The glyph with the heel and the sun rays, you should know what I mean, for those who take the classes once again.
Yeah.
Now, my mistress, His Majesty sent me to Yebu to bring a granite false door and its libation stone and granite lintels, and to bring granite portals and libation stones for the upper chamber of the pyramid. Meren Ra appears in splendor, my mistress. I travel north with them to the pyramid. Merenre or Merenra appears in splendor, in 6 barges and 3 tow boats of 8 reebs in a single expedition. Never had Yebu and Ibat been done in a single expedition under any king. Thus, everything His Majesty commanded was done entirely as His Majesty commanded. His Majesty sent me to Hatnub to bring a great altar of alabaster of Hatnub. I brought this altar down for him in 17 days. After it was quarried at Hatnub, I had it go downstream. In this barge I had built for it a barge of acacia wood of 60 cubits in length and 30 cubits in width, assembled in 17 days, in the third month of summer, when there was no water on the sandbanks. It landed at the pyramid. Merenra appears in splendor, in safety. It came about through me entirely in accordance with the ordinance commanded by my lord. That would be Neb-E. His Majesty sent me to dig 5 canals in Upper Egypt and to build 3 barges and 4 towboats of acacia wood of Wawat. Now, Wawat is something that it has to be somewhere around Nubia.
Yeah.
Then the foreign chiefs of Irtjet, Wawat, Yam, and Medja cut the timber for them. I did it all in 1 year. Floated. They were loaded with the very large granite blocks for the pyramid. Merenra appears in splendor. Indeed, I made a saving for the palace with all these 5 canals. As King Merenra, who lives forever, is august, exalted, and mighty more than any god, so everything came about in accordance with the ordinance commanded by his Ka. I was one beloved of his father, Meri F, I would say, praised by his mother, gracious to his brothers, the count, true governor of Upper Egypt, honored by Usir Weni. All right.
Mm.
All
Good.
right.
Good stuff.
And let me just thank Kapalot Ram, who once again made a $5 donation. Brother, I appreciate it, but don't don't go broke because you give donations all the time. But thank you very much. I know that was long, brothers, but you know, I like that. It's good. Now there were no transliteration here because for those who take the classes, I try to explain to them how useful it is to know the transliteration, and sometimes just by the transliteration, you will know which glyph it is actually there. You will not necessarily know, but when you're a bit familiar, you can kind of guess what the actual glyphs will be.
Oh yeah, brother Shaka.
Yes.
I have an article based on that that has that points out the translation about the Nubians, about the Magi.
Share it, please. Share it with us.
Oh yes, I'm going to share.
Or share your screen if you want. It's up to you. You can either send the link to me or share your screen. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll share the screen. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. There it is.
Can you see it?
Let me touch on my end. Yeah, Tanehis. Yeah.
It is an article from jstor.org. Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat as well. Let me see here. Okay. From jstor.org. The article is titled "Two Different Names of Nubia Before the Fifth Dynasty," and is written by Alejandro Jimenez Serrano. And here, he's talking on that text, and he says here.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Can you go up just a little bit because I think there's the word menu. Oh no, it's not menu because this is the word that we've seen with the learners. So I was about to tell them. So yes, please keep going, brother.
Tell you what I do here. Let me see here. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. I got it in full screen now. Okay. Yeah. Says here. speaking on hacking up the land, land of the South and delivery of captives, 4,000 men, 3,000 women, etc., etc. Then it says here, it mentions the part about the Nubians, and it says, I'm gonna highlight it. I can't highlight it, but it says here at the beginning of the 6th dynasty appeared the Nisbe of Nahisi or Nahisi J, as is possible to see
It's
in some
it's Nahisi. The J is actually pronounced like the sound E. So yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
Nahisi and Nahisi,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, Nahes. Yeah, Nahes. Okay. Yeah, as is possible to see in some regiments of Winnie's army, of which, among others, Urjet Nubians, and it got the word Urjet Nahisi.
Nahisiu. And the W,
Nahes.
the W makes the U sound. So that's Nahisiu. And
Yeah,
the U sound or the W, it denotes the plural. So earlier I guess correctly without tooting my own horn.
Okay, yeah, see, yeah, Magi Nahes, the Magi
Nahisiu.
Nahes, yeah, Nahesu, Yam Nahesu, Wawat Nahesu, and Cow Nahesu. See, so it's saying here that it actually calls him Nahesu or Nahisi.
I still have a problem with that. Because I do, man, because see, first of all, for Egypt to be a colony of Kush, right? And they say that their ancestors come from Yam. So, or they went to visit their ancestors in Yam. Okay, I'm having a problem with that because I'm like, okay, why are they separating the situation? See, that's something I would have to see on. I had to see that in the stone because that doesn't make sense to me.
Wait, whose ancestors came from Yam?
Egyptians. They went to visit their ancestors in Yam.
You mean Punt? Because I think
No, not just Punt. No, not just Puntui. Both sections. See, you got to remember, man, Egyptians aren't like one monolithic people. Like they came from the Nile. Okay, let me say this about the Nile too. That I don't know if you've seen a 16th century map or a 14th century map, but the Nile ran all the way down into the Congo Basin, bro. It went all the way down to the Congo River.
It starts at Lake Victoria, right?
No. Shaka, what was it called? The Congo River of Zaire?
Oh, Zaire was called Congo was called Zaire at one point during the time of
Mobutu. So down the lake, right? Down the lake of Zaire. Matter of fact, I can get you that map.
The lake, I'm not sure, but the country was called Zaire at one point.
Yeah, that's what it was called, Lake Zaire, I think it was called. But I mean, if you want to see that map, I can get you that map too. But it went all the way down, man. Like before, I don't know what happened in between then and now, but the lake went all the way there.
And you know what's interesting there is that you removed it.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
It's back up there. It's back.
Can you just go slightly up just a little bit? Or down. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Now you have there from the words used for naming the regiments, it is possible to observe that the first element of every set of Nubians is a toponym, not only because of the determinative E, but also because of the later mentions of Herkuf or Herhuf. The second part, Nehisiu, is completed with three determinatives of soldiers, which clearly denote a common ethnic origin. In the Middle Kingdom, the Egyptians used the term Nehisi for the people that lived in Wawat. And earlier we've read about Wawat, and Wawat, we are told there that is Lower Nubia, or were born there. This word was assimilated to Negro during the New Kingdom. It's very funny that they put that because Negro is just an English word. So,
right.
It's assimilated to Negro for them, not for people from Kemet. But this is good because, once again, whenever if anybody comes a comment text from Kemet and you see the word Negro, then you can know that it was most likely Nihisiu. You see, and I don't know what he says in the rest, but um, Negroes during the New Kingdom, when the Egyptians referred sometimes to Nubians as Nihisiu, and the iconography that accompanied the text represented them as Negroes. Negroes or black people, yes. Traditionally, Nehisi had been translated as Negro, although the original meaning is Southlander. And you know, it's so nice because that's the thing. Um, you have some scholars, they have peers, and they know they have to be careful with what they're saying. And this guy is breaking it down.
Correct. Correct.
This guy is really breaking it down. You see? So, and if you don't mind, brother, can you go right at the beginning,
Oh yes, yes. See,
right at the top? Because I think they talk about Tasseti. So yeah, and now if you can go down a little bit, I'm just going
oh
to
yeah, yeah,
read it
yeah.
for the
Okay,
record.
okay.
Yes, and down again, down again. Okay, thank you. So here number two says the meaning of Tanehes. The word ta might be translated in many ways, but in this context, it seems clear that it refers to a concrete region in the same way as ta seti. Well, ta means land, by the way, so I don't, for the record. The later, which is translated as land of the bow, extended throughout the current region of Lower Nubia to the present day. The mention of Nehes on the Palermo stone is the oldest one, because it seems unlikely that an earlier phonetic parallel might correspond to the same meaning. The use of Ta Seti at the end of the Old Kingdom is attested by numerous mentions that can be found in the pyramid texts. At the beginning of the Sixth Dynasty appeared the Nisbe. Oh, yeah, that's where our brother Radio One started reading. So, yes, it's very interesting. And you see, brothers, it's like some people come up with PowerPoints and they make presentations. Sometimes they use wordplay, and that's entertaining. And a lot of people like this kind of thing. But this is like core scholarship. Maybe the thing that would make it better is to actually see some text, some original text. But sometimes it's not that easy because Egypt, the number one source of income for Egypt is tourism. So for PhDs, many times have access to data, to records that the layman would not have access to, but a lot of times they don't have access to it. So they can't even get the pictures from the artifacts. So they do drawings, you know, either they do it themselves or they get people to do the drawings. Um, but the core scholarship, or let's say the scholarship period, because our people use scholarship very loosely, but it's not necessarily the most entertaining one. I mean, to be honest, what we've just seen, and even the quality or the presentation of the paper, it's not really the kind of thing that most people, and I mean most people who are dealing with Black history, it's not the kind of thing that they really deal with. But we have a description and more or less in translation of some original artifact, you see. And once again, it started with the Sixth Dynasty, with this autobiography, I'm sorry, of Weni. So, Sixth Dynasty, for the record, just going to show, because, hold on, there it is. So, well, I'm not sure if there will be an entry. Maybe I'll need to put Dynasty first. But, okay, I will put, just to have an indication on date. Okay, I'll put ancient Egypt then. Ancient Egypt, and I think they put I know they put the dynasty somewhere. It's not there. Hold on. 18th
Yeah,
dynasty. Okay. So yes,
Also
so
wanted to
that's
add
the
to
dynasties.
um,
Yes, just
after.
no,
Oh yeah,
no, that's the fifth dynasty there, and now sixth dynasty. There it is. Between 23, I don't know if you can see it, but what happened? That's 12. I'm so unlucky. Um, so that's the first, and that's the fifth. There it is. Sixth dynasty, circa around 2300 and 2100, between 2300 and 2100 BC, 2000 years before Jesus Christ. Oh, didn't I share it? Was it showing on the screen?
yes, it was. There it is.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right, no problem. So, 2000 years before Jesus Christ, we have an autobiography. The guy who walked on water and went up to the sky, nobody wrote about that. And there's one thing that I forgot to say the last time. People who have some hypotheses and try to say, well, this is dealing with Jesus. It was not convenient for the Romans or the Jews, so they didn't want to talk about him. Okay, granted. But wouldn't we think it a normal thing that the same day where we have an eclipse or lack of sunlight, lack of daylight during the day, and earthquake, both on the same day, isn't it safe to presume that someone will write it?
Most
Someone will say, "Hey, you know what? What's up, Doug? You know what?
Absolutely.
Today there was an earthquake and an eclipse at the same time."
definitely.
You know,
Yeah.
but that's just for the record. But go ahead, brother Radio One.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Brother Magi Commander, just because that distinction is made does not take away, that their Kushite origin.
Oh no,
Because
not. Oh,
yeah,
like I said, I still have a problem with that. I still have a problem
yeah,
with as far as the context they put it in. I have a problem with that. You know what I'm saying, or whatever.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I have listen. I have a couple of papers on the situation, but it's like long and drawn out. I have to condense this type of stuff when I bring it to you guys. Over there, I did post a map, Shaka. If you wanna look at the map there.
Quick question,
I,
Magi.
yeah, go ahead.
Quick question, brother.
Go ahead,
In
bro.
your estimation, what was ground zero for the expansion of the Kushite Empire?
I would say, in regards to the Shango bone, I would say from Congo all the way up, because that's where you have like the beginnings of the mathematics. And I mean, well, even if you go back to the Ebombo bone, which is of course South Africa, but as far as like the Shango bone, which we know is 20,000 years old, that would be the beginning of mathematics. So therefore, I would say right there, and then because you have that, and then Naphtali and so on and so forth. So I would say around in that area.
Are you aware that genetic data is available that states that the Kushites made contact with the Khoisan at 24,000?
Oh, I mean, I have no doubt in that,
Yeah.
because I would say that the Khoi, of course, back and forth along with the Twa, you know what I mean, but back and forth in Kemet, I have no, I don't have any beef with that at all. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah. Also, I want to speak on that. The Kushite Empire. Now, a lot of what is said about the Kushite Empire is comes from oral tradition. Because when it comes to records, it's somewhat scarce when it comes to the Kushite Empire, like pre-dynastic, even records for pre-dynastic Egypt is scarce as well. When it comes to writings, like ancient records that speaks of conquest, as we see in the Medu Neter and the Assyrian annals, the annals of the Assyrian Empire, and
Persian Empire when they, when they have records saying that, they conquered this place, they conquered this, that place. But but for the Kushite Empire, it's based on oral tradition, but it's ancient oral tradition as well. And and that's how we know that Egypt is an offspring of the Kushite Empire. And
Right, but
yeah,
This is
I mean,
true.
not to cut you, radio, but I'm gonna say this. Some of the cultural similarities between Kushite Egyptians and India are striking, bro. So
Yes,
there
they are.
have been people who there's been linguists and other people who've done studies on the situation. Like I told you, I have to put it together for you. I'm not actually prepared to just lay it all out for you. These are things that I deal with, that I'm giving Shaka now, that I deal with on a regular basis whenever I'm debating people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, that's why it is important to study the ancient Egyptian records, because you would Egypt actually has, they have like the evidence documented. There is it is documented. It has records, and also Shock, it's going to be brief. Shock, I just want to share the screen to show what I'm talking about right here.
Hold just for a second, radio. Hold on, just a second. Okay, Shaka, did you see the did you see it going all the way down to Congo? It actually named it too. It actually said it on it. As far as the Nile is concerned, it said it all the way down.
Yeah. Can you see that?
So you talking about that map, right?
Yes.
Okay. Radio One. Yes, I see it, and I think maybe Hassan wanted to share something, but just let me just deal with this map first. So you wanted me to go around
Okay.
Congo?
Yeah. So you see where the Nile is, right? And you follow it down. You see the different kingdoms. They actually have spots where they've mapped it out for the different kingdoms in the third that they were trying to deal with. You see those little brown castles?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you follow the Nile, it said Nilus, of course, all the way down, it's there. And that would be right there at the Congo.
What do you want me to look for?
Oh no. I was
Okay.
just explaining that. But if you look, it empties also out down. I guess that will be where Limpopo is now. But my whole setup was to show you that the Nile was not broken like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So that's the first. I mean, it's the first cultural highway. Therefore, our people were back and forth up there. For all those that kept saying that the Sahara stopped them from some odd reason, they would say the Sahara stopped the Negroes,
Oh,
quote,
can you
going back and forth to North Africa. So how? The Nile goes all the way down, bro.
Well, I mean, the Sahara wasn't relevant back in the
Yeah,
time.
can you
it's
make
not.
it bigger, Shaka?
It's not, but Europeans like to use that. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the
Yeah,
Europeans that love to debate that.
look at the name of Arabia on his map.
Well, it says there you have Ayman, but there underneath you have Arabia Felix.
Yeah, the name he has there, is that the same name from the source we read from earlier with Leo Africanus? It looks like the same name.
If I still have the PDF, I can have a look, but I think it was slightly different.
Yeah, but it seems like
I might have it in my
you will vocalize it the
how do you
same.
call it? The history of description.
Also, did you guys notice where Nubia is?
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
to the west.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Western
Oh,
desert.
I have something funny with my computer. It's been a few days, but
Afro-Asiatic.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
pretty confident it was different. I'm pretty. Well, we can always go back to the live stream. We'll go
I
I
back.
would
have
just like to take a moment to speak about the like origins of the Egyptians. So like they would Shaka has been talking about determinatives, and one of the things that a lot of scholars looking at Egypt uh, like sort of determined was that Quanet or Punt, which is modern day Eritrea or Ethiopia or Somali, uh, was the homeland of the ancient Egyptians, or at least they believed that because they would not use the foreign determinative for Puntites. And they would depict Puntites with the same type of beards. But the exact sort of you would have to look at Hatshepsut's voyage to Punt and like
yeah.
Her
hieroglyphs there, and
Stilla.
I can send Shaka like a source on that. But
Her
they
Stilla.
definitely, I mean, there were definitely so many different tribes of Nubians, quote unquote, that it's just like there were, and they also looked different. I think that's one of the things that's always sort of glossed over is that they Egyptians would have Nubians who had yellow skin, red skin, and black skin in their depictions. You have, you know, Amos, Ramses warring with Nubians, and half the Nubians are of a black skin tone, and the other half are with like an Egyptian quote unquote skin tone.
No,
So they
let
explore
me
that.
say this to you. Let me say this to you.
Yeah.
Whenever people you try to use that against African people, first of all, if you looked at the hairstyles, there's one set that where that the whole set of men wore the bigger gold earrings, and they had a shorter hairstyle. If you looked at them every time they said, "Well, they fought the Nubians," then they put a Nubian picture up. I'm like, "Well, that's a different set of Nubian." And now about this Nubian, well, that's a different set. Which set are you talking about? Which set were the enemy all the time? You understand? Because they will give you different. They have different depictions of the people. They're not all the same tribe or nation of Nubians, quote unquote.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and with Hatshepsut's parts of Radio One, with Hatshepsut's Stilla, the Stilla really has to be unpacked because she has flora and fauna that is on the Stilla. She went on water. She went by ship. Number one,
Yeah.
she has flora and fauna on the Stilla that gives us some indication of the land that she visited. She has frankincense on the Stilla, myrrh, giant turtles. These are South, excuse me, South Arabian turtles, and as well as the frankincense is an indicator that she went to Arabia because in the ancient world, the highest quality of frankincense and myrrh was coming out of Arabia. So
no, but
even
they
though
I
it
have to
does
disagree with
grow,
that
it does
also.
grow in the horn as well. We can unpack it.
Yeah, because you also had those sources. You had frankincense and myrrh also in the Horn of Africa. It also
Exactly.
grows in
They
the
were
Horn of Africa.
known for it. They were known for it.
The
Yeah.
highest,
So
the most sought after grade of frankincense that is connected to the Egyptian Banu bird, which is also a bird of their ancestral homeland. The Banu bird is connected to Arabia. If we do,
Uh,
hold one second, just 1 second. If we do our homework on the Banu bird is an Arabian bird. It was a tall bird, like a stork, and that is native to Arabia. I'm not talking about white Arabia or Aryanized Arabia. I'm talking about black Arabia, just like frankincense. I'm talking
if
about black Arabia. I'm not talking about white Arabia.
I get you, but if I'm not mistaken, now call me on it if I am. But wasn't that like the iconic bird
Phoenix,
I know, but I know it. I know.
Banu.
Damn it.
The ibis bird.
No, for Zimbabwe, for Great Zimbabwe. If I'm not, if I Nate, stop me if I'm wrong.
Well, I would just say that the Bennu bird was supposed to be the heron, right? And if you look at the depictions of Hatshepsut's journey to Punt, one of the animals depicted there is a secretary bird, which is only found in Africa, particularly in like the Horn of Africa. The secretary bird is not found in Arabia. You also see giraffes, and you also see like elephants in Punt.
That
And you
is
see
correct.
their houses on like stilts there. But there was a scientific study of a mummified baboon who multiple mummified baboons. I just linked it in the private chat where they took the DNA and they were able to find Punt is exactly between Eritrea, Somali, and Ethiopia.
And I'm looking
But-
at it right now.
They ruled it
But-
inconclusive. It's ruled inconclusive with the baboon.
Definitely conclusive. No,
It
no,
is.
there is
It
no
is.
I would say,
I'm familiar with it.
are
to
they?
believe that Punt was in Arabia because they told us that they hugged the Gulf to get there. They hugged the coast to get there and went further down southeast.
I
They
mean, if you,
never- and also like the animals that are in Punt are not
Yeah.
found in Arabia. You
are
don't
not,
find
that's what I was about
So
to say.
so you
That's
so
not
you're
valid.
saying you're saying that there was no giraffe or no elephant in Arabia? You don't know your
No.
history, brother.
No.
Yeah, it's an Arabian, it's an Asiatic lion. See, what we got to understand is the majority of the flora. One second, the majority of the flora and fauna that is in East Africa, when Arabia was green, it was all of the same flora and fauna on both sides. We gotta really get it into our head that Arabia was green at one time, just like the Sahel, the Sahara Desert. It was green.
Brother, even if Arabia was green at one time,
It was
can
green.
we say yes? But can we say that it was green during the time of Hatshepsut?
Right.
Well, that's a good question.
It
Yeah,
hold on.
Was it or wasn't it?
Brother Shaka.
Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Well, we definitely know it wasn't green during the time of the Sixth Dynasty.
And if it wasn't green in the Sixth Dynasty, it surely wouldn't have been green during the time of Hatshepsut. But what did you want to say, Radio Ron?
Yes. I just want to share my screen right quick to show Brother Afro-Asiatics something. Just it'll be brief. Now,
Yes, go ahead, brother.
Yeah,
let's see here. Let's see here. Now that's what he says is based on his opinion, but when we go to the records, we find this out.
It's not just my opinion.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, now if you can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, bro.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, if you want to stick with the belief that Punt was on both sides of the Red Sea, okay, fine. But if you're trying to say that Punt was not in Africa and Punt was in Arabia, then there's a problem, because here, okay, this is from the Ancient Records of Egypt, volume 2, I believe, the 18th dynasty, and this is from the tomb of Hatshepsut, okay, and it says, and this is Ancient Records of Egypt, 18th dynasty, page 271, okay, and it says here, it says over the chiefs of Punt, okay, we're going to skip that, okay, and it says here, scene, the queen stands at the left before her products of Punt and Irene, okay, brought back by the expedition, mingled with those of Nubia, okay. So then it goes on to say, before the queen, it says in quotes, the king himself, okay, meaning really the queen herself, but it's depicting her as king, but it says before the queen, in quotes, the king himself, the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Markare Hatshepsut, presentation of the marvels of Punt. And it goes out, the treasures, okay, the treasures of God's land, together with the gifts of the countries of the south, with the imposts of the wretched Cush, the baskets of Negro land, to Amun, Lord of Thieves, presider over Karnak. So now we see here that Cush and the lands of Nubia are grouped with Punt. So that mean it was all in the same in the same area.
That doesn't
You know,
mean that though. That's
yeah.
not what that necessarily means. That's an
because you can't say,
interpretation.
yeah, it's grouping them all in the same area, and I always, I always believe that Punt was really like the southern part of Kush, because when you sail the Red Sea, okay, and you land on the coast and you go into the interior part, you're going towards the Nile River, and which is modern day Ethiopia, and so it's pretty much saying that Punt was in the neighborhood of Kush and Nubia. It was in the same land. That's what they're
That's a
saying.
closed case. Yeah,
What I'm
that's
saying,
an closed case. If you hug the coast,
it ain't
you
no
have to
closed
go
case because that's
the
why we
east
need a
of
genetic
Africa.
source to put a cherry on top, and I got a genetic source for y'all to put a cherry on top. That's what we need to add on.
Yeah, we did.
We can't
There
we
was a
can't
study of the
dismiss the
baboons.
you didn't see the genetics. I got the genetic
We did.
source for you.
But I got a question. Where was there mentioned in any historical records that Punt was in Arabia though?
E. A. Wallace Budge, Dimitri Meeks, Flanders Petrie,
No,
They never. They never.
several.
he was
No,
asking.
You
I
He
said
was
asked
I
asking.
said in Arabia. No, I said in
you asked
Arabia. No, I
Was
you
said.
asking.
asked Dimitri Meeks, E. A.
No, hold
Wallace
on.
Budge,
He was
Flanders
asking for
Petrie,
historical records
all
that
place
Yeah,
Punt in
not
Arabia.
the authors the authors that you named.
they
Those
don't. They
did not
did.
come up with the historical records. But really, I will say that we don't really have any indication of the location of Punt. As I mean, Punt was the name that they use. Punet.
Yeah.
Punet. Now the question for us is, where was it? They knew where it was, but for us, we don't know where it was. So we will not find any mentions of Arabia, and of course no mention of Ethiopia or Eritrea and so on,
Oh, of
because
course
those
not.
places didn't exist as we know them.
Yeah.
Modern
uh
genetics
how,
puts the cherry
All of
on
those
top.
were made up by
okay,
Europeans.
Modern genetics
yes,
puts the
but
cherry
but
on top.
but the thing is that, you see, our brother Afro-Asiatic earlier, he actually said that, and this is true, that Arabia was renowned for having some very good quality frankincense, but it's not enough to claim that because the best frankincense was in Arabia, then it means that because there was frankincense in Punt, then it means that Punt was in Arabia. That's like a shortcut. But from what I've seen, and I've shown that quote before, in the Oxford History of Ancient Egypt, there's three different scholars who place Punt in the Horn of Africa, somewhere around Somalia and Eritrea, that area.
Go ahead,
So
Yeah.
maybe back then people used to think that maybe it was partly in Arabia, but I'm pretty confident that the updated scholarship will say that most likely Punt is somewhere in Africa.
I
And to
have an
clarify,
updated genetic source. This
No,
is
but,
what we
but,
need to help
But
us understand
what,
as
genetic,
well.
what do you
In
mean?
addition,
What do you mean when you say genetic source? What are you talking
I
about?
have a genetic source that explains some
But
things
what
about the flow of
but
populations
but
back
what do you
over the
mean?
Red Sea.
What is genetic source?
Why don't you just pull up the source then? I can give you the source,
all
and we
right.
can all read. We can all read from it. We shouldn't be afraid of the genetic
Well,
information.
we
Yeah. I mean,
know. Okay,
but
okay,
Here's my
okay,
problem.
okay. Let me allow
Let the
brother Hassan
scientists
first.
let the scientists tell it.
Brother Hassan, go ahead, and then I would like to let brother Ka, who has joined us on the panel as well.
All right. I would just like to say I posted a source, a well documented source from Dartmouth College, where they talk about testing the baboons.
okay,
It's
brother.
been other scientists who've done a DNA test, and they determined that the baboons were from Somalia, Eritrea, Ethiopia, in that region of the Horn of Africa. You can talk about frankincense, but there's also myrrh that they talk about. There's also ebony that they talk about.
Yeah.
There's also electrum they talk about. There's also giraffes. There's also elephants. There's also the secretary bird.
A lot of stuff, my man.
The ponderance of
And
evidence.
it's a lot of that stuff is in Arabia.
They weren't.
Says who?
Well, can we look at the genetic source? I got the genetic source on deck.
Well, we were waiting on you to pull it up, brother.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. What is that source? Well, actually, okay. Look for that source for now, and in the meantime, let's introduce our brother Ka. Welcome, brother Ka.
Yes, you're on mute. You're on mute, brother.
I got it, Shaka.
Okay. Well, maybe brother Ka just wanted to listen.
Hold on. Can I ask a question real quick?
Plaisios. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on, just a second. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there was somebody else who made a trip down to front as well. I'm trying to remember because he brought back a twop. See?
Might have been a Minahat. I might have been a Minahat. I think maybe a Minahat.
I think so.
A Minahat. Yeah. I got the genetic source though, Shaka.
Go ahead, brother. I just want to ask a question.
Pleistocene North African genomes link Near Eastern and Sub-Saharan African human populations.
Is that an article?
Yeah. It's 2018.
Okay. Just tell me the title again.
Pleist. You want me to write it in the chat, or you think that'd be better?
No, you might as well go ahead. It'll be quicker.
Okay. Pleistocene North African genomes link Near Eastern and Sub-Saharan African human populations.
Near Eastern and Sub-Saharan human population.
African human populations.
African human population. So
yes,
Sub-Saharan African human population.
And that's 2018.
Okay. No, that's very short. So it says, okay, let me share it. We can all see that together. That's the one, is it? Is that the one, Brother Alfrazzetti?
I can't see it yet, Shaka.
There, can you see it?
Yeah, hold on. PubMed. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so it's very short. It says abstract North Africa is a key region for understanding human history, but the genetic history of its people is largely unknown. We present genomic data from 15,000-year-old modern humans attributed to the Ibero-Mauritian culture from Morocco. We found a genetic affinity with early Holocene Near Easterners, best represented by Levantine Natufians, suggesting a pre-agricultural connection between Africa and the Near East. We do not find evidence for gene flow from Paleolithic Europeans to late Pleistocene North Africans. The Taforat individuals derive 1/3 of their ancestry from Sub-Saharan Africans, best approximated by a mixture of genetic components preserved in present-day West and East Africans. Thus, we provide direct evidence for genetic interaction between modern humans across Africa and Eurasia in Pleistocene. And that's what you wanted us to know about, right? Was it?
Yes, it's if you move it over, or move down on my screen, it's I got to move it over. But if you move down just below the introduction of the abstract.
Well, underneath you have similar articles, so.
Well, I have the same article, and it says we analyze the genetic affinities of the Tagliafold individuals. by performing principal component analysis, modeling based clustering of worldwide data when projected onto the top principal component of African and West Eurasian populations from the distinct cluster, intermediary, North Africans, Amazigh, Berber, Mozambique, Shawaharis, and East Africans, Afar, Oromos, Somalis. Consistently, we find that all males with significant nuclear DNA preservation carry Y haplogroup E1B1A1 M78. This haplogroup occurs most frequently in present-day North and East African populations. The closely related E1B1B haplogroup has been reported in the Tufians and pre-pottery Neolithic Levantines. You know, I just wanted to get a little bit into the DNA because it really shows how the ancient Mideast populations were already genetically intermingling with as far as Northwest Africa. So, you know, when we have these arguments about them being such different people, it's because we're not familiar with the genetic data, even though there are cultural markers to support, you know what I'm saying, as well as oral traditions that support, you know, the position that I'm coming from, that this was all, you know, all of these groups were intermingled. I mean, we wouldn't be able to, this article alone may not convince someone, but what I'm telling the family is there is a multitude of genetic data that is saying this. It's not just one. It's not just one article. And the European is very crafty in the data because he switched the term Afro-Eurasian to simply Eurasian today. When we look at the data today, all we see the term Eurasian, and they do us a disadvantage because in the earlier writings dealing with genetics, they were talking about Afro-Arabs and Afro-Eurasians, but they switched the terminology, you know. But that understanding would come with us actually delving into the data.
Okay. And just for the record, I just want you to see something, brothers. I wish there were some sisters, but I guess they are shy. Um, we have True G. Now I know who True G is, but he wrote an old encyclopedia software. Is this man's source? Is he for real? And he wrote, it's outdated and not firsthand. And he added, no true scholar uses that as a source. And he even wrote, all Britannica software is not a source at all, only a study guide for fourth graders. So now using Encyclopedia Britannica is not good enough. That's very funny.
Yeah, man.
But it's the same guy who uses Google Images.
That's just a distractor, you know.
I know.
Well, Google Images
that ain't about nothing,
is the
Shaka.
highest source. So I don't know what you're talking about.
No, we building.
If it's not on Google Images, I don't trust it.
Now, brothers, it's been 3 hours and 23 minutes. So since it is midnight, I'm gonna join wifey and baby girl in the bed. So I will let everybody make their closing remarks. I will go anti-clockwise. So I will do Brother Car, then Hassan, then Radio One, and Afro-Asiatic, then Majak Commander. So I don't know if Brother Car can hear me, but if you can hear me, feel free to make your closing. Oh yes, now you've unmuted yourself. Greetings, brother. Now I don't know if you're talking, but we don't hear anything, Brother Car. But I've noticed that you've unmuted yourself. However, we don't hear any sound at all. Maybe try to fix that sound. I don't know. Try to remove the mic if you have an external mic and put it back on. In the meantime, I will move to Hassan. So Hassan, feel free to make your closing remarks if you have any.
Yeah, just very quick quote. In addition to all the preponderance of evidence of why punt is in Africa, I'd like to also note that the Greeks also thought that the Egyptians were a colony from quote unquote Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a vague term, but we do know that punt could be located somewhere near Ethiopia. And here is what Diodorus Siculus has to say. So last name is Siculus.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. That's what's
It
up.
says, they, the Ethiopians, say also that the Egyptians are colonists sent out by the Ethiopians. Osiris, king of kings and god of gods, having been the leader of the colony, they add that the Egyptians have received from them, as from authors and their ancestors, the greater part of their laws. And so obviously that is a Greek sort of misunderstanding, like the myth of Osiris, where Osiris is the first king of Egypt, and then every other king who dies is mummified,
Right.
just was and whatnot. But that sort of like mythic, legendary storytelling tells you like what the Egyptians thought, right? They thought we are descended from Juanet, and I'd love for Shaka to look at the hieroglyphs connected to Punt, particularly around the 18th dynasty, and like what they have to say in the foreign determinatives and all that. It's interesting. But I'll end on that. Have a great night, everyone. It's been a wonderful time here.
Yeah, thank you, brother Hassan. Earlier, I tried to put I did put the glyphs for Punt, and there was that glyph that sometimes is used for foreign land, the glyph of the hill, but we have time to talk about this in more detail. So thank you very much. Now, brother Ka has come back. Let's try to speak so we can see if we can hear you now.
Peace, brother. Can you hear me?
Yes, is that brother Kafra?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Hotep, brother.
Hotel.
Hotep,
Yes, sir. It's been a while, man.
What's
yeah.
up, bro?
Peace to the panel. I enjoyed the build.
Hotep.
What's up, brother? Afro-Asiatic, man. You still at it, huh, bro?
Already know, brother. Peace.
He's representing hard. He's representing.
Hey, but it's all love, man. I enjoyed the conversation, the little conversation that I was able to receive. I enjoyed it, man. Next time I'll try to be on time if I'm not working. But I enjoyed it, man. And peace to the panel. And Brother Shock, I'm going to get up with you, brother. No doubt.
All right, brother. All right, Sen. Thank you. It's been a
brother.
long time. Yeah. So now, brother Radio One, if you have any closing remarks, then feel free.
Yes. I just want to say, I know DNA is brother Afro-Asiatic thing, but we got to be careful when you try to what to use DNA for, okay? Because to find out where the land of Punt is, okay, DNA is not required, okay? You have to use geography, okay? Geography is what determine where the land of Punt is located. And to the brother Team Africa yesterday, I didn't get a chance to address him, but he came at me with the remark that, if I need a transplant or a murder case or whatever, I'm not going to deny DNA. Well, that's in another category, okay? You can use DNA for a transplant or whatever, but for history, you really don't need DNA, okay? Even your most popular geneticist, Dr. Shamarka Keita, says that, okay? That DNA has the least answers when it comes to history, okay? And DNA is really not required when it comes to history. So, so you got to keep everything in its proper category and perspective, and have respect for certain methods of history, because you can't mix and confuse the two. Like DNA, DNA is perfect, when you want to find out the genetics or the race of a person, but when it comes to trying to figure out the location of a place or the history of a people, DNA is not required. You got to go to the text when it comes to history, and when it comes to a location, you have to go to geography, and that's what you have to keep everything in its proper perspective. And and we saw clearly that the land of Punt is grouped with the land of Cush. Okay, it's in the area of Cush. Now, if it has said that Punt was in the land of the Asiatics, then you would have been all over that, saying, "Oh, yeah, this proves that Punt was in the land of Asiatics." But we clearly see that it was grouped with the land of Cush in the southern lands, or the lands of Nubia. And that right there is straight from the primary source. So we can't disregard what the primary source saying and go to DNA and make up your own interpretation. because the primary source goes against that, and there are many other proofs in the records of Egypt that proves that Punt was indeed in Africa. But I just showed that it was in the same land as Cush and Nubia, and the text clearly says that. And and I just want to say, I'm going to end it off here. It's important as well that we prove that our links and our ties to ancient Egypt, because there is a tie to ancient Egypt. I even heard the president or the leader of the antiquities of Egypt, Dr. Zahir Wah, say, that Egypt just do not belong to modern Egyptians. It belongs to other Africans as well, because you have these modern Egyptians. They don't want nobody claiming Egypt. They want to keep Egypt within Egypt. And the history goes against that. Yeah, they can't do that. So it's and they do it out of biasness and out of this pseudo cultural pride. And all their beliefs goes against history, and but it has nothing to do with historical reality. And if we can strengthen our ties with ancient Egypt and show that we also have ties to ancient Egypt, that'll give us more authority, and that'll break down some barriers. More authority to Black scholars, Black African scholars to have to be able to be granted access to certain sites in Egypt, because a lot of sites are granted. A lot of access is granted to white Europeans who have no ties to ancient Egypt at all. But Black Africans who do have ties and ancestral connections to ancient Egypt are denied and are treated like garbage. But all these white Europeans are, they getting access to everything, and they getting the utmost respect, all because of this lie, all because of a lie. And that's not right.
And brother, I'm sorry, but please try to conclude, brother.
Yes.
I have to get some sleep.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. Y'all was just gonna say that. That's why I'm talking real fast. But but I just wanted to say that we can debate the race of the ancient Egyptians, but we also have to show proof of our ties to ancient Egypt, because we know the Israelites, they tried that in Israel, and they tried to get citizenship to prove that they were Jews, but they were denied, because they couldn't prove it, but we have stronger evidence to prove our connection to Egypt, because Egypt is in Africa, and we are Africans, and we are connected together. And I just want to say that. Peace, everybody. Peace, Brother Shaka, and you brothers have a nice day.
Thank you, brother Radio On. And since Chris has joined us, then I will let him make his closing remarks after. So now, brother Afroasiatic, feel free if you have any closing remarks.
Peace.
Go ahead,
Hello?
brother Afroasiatic. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes.
Peace, brother. Salutes to the platform. It's a very dignified panel, and even though brothers had disagreements, no one was disagreeable. That's the beauty of it, and much appreciated, man. A lot of good information was exchanged, and blessings to you and your family, Shaka. Peace.
Yes, thank you, brother Afroasiatic. Brother Chris, brother Harris, Anthony Harris, you left. I don't know if it was intentional or if the connection was lost, but I was planning on letting you make your closing remarks at the end, but so feel free to come back if you want to, even though if it's just the end, but you can always say what's up to the family. Now, Major Commander, if you have any closing remarks, then please feel free.
Thank you and good night.
That was extremely brief. Okay, well, brothers, thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you for those who hit that like button, and I'm not sure if I will be live streaming tomorrow, but I'll see. Well, because I have a class tomorrow, and usually after a class I'm such in a good mood that I end up going live. So most likely tomorrow I will be live streaming. But thank you very much, brothers and sisters. For those who haven't seen the video, Kemet and Ma'at, I've shared the link in the chat. So it's a video that I am the most proud of. So I think you will like it. And if you have already seen it, then feel free to share it. So I would say stay safe, stay healthy. And if I'm allowed to by the Necheru, then I would definitely holler back at you. Hotep.
Hotel family.
Now, for the record, for those who don't know, I'm giving Medu Nature classes. And here, that's the flyer. Okay? So, those who are interested, feel free to holler at me. If you're not interested, it's cool. But I recommend that everybody who has not yet seen the video Kemet and Ma'at before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, then watch it. It has about 300,000 views and really deserves to have a lot more.
I just want to let everyone know who's listening in now and who's going to listen to this stream in the future. I just had my first Meta Nature class by Brother Shaka today, and I've had other Meta Nature lessons by other teachers, and I can tell you right now, the brother is the best in the game. He is that was one of the best classes I've ever had, ever. So if you're interested in learning the Meta Nature, if you're interested in getting the basics of it, Brother Shaka is an awesome teacher. Get with him, and it's extremely affordable. This brother is giving us his time and his skills, and he's basically giving it away. I mean, I just consider it a donation. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody's interested in learning the Meta Nature, get with this brother right here. He's an awesome, awesome, awesome teacher. And I'll end with that.
Hotep Senu, Hena Senut. This is Julie, also known as Servant of Yah, and I'm currently taking the Medu Nature classes with Brother Shaka, and it has been an amazing experience. Only 2 lessons so far, and I feel like I've been taking the classes for months, just with the how in depth he goes into the vocabulary words, the construction of the language, the grammar. It's been immeasurable, the experience. And one thing that comes across, hands down, is his extreme passion for teaching this to anyone who is willing to learn and has an interest in learning. So I highly suggest, if you are interested, even a minimal interest, that you subscribe to the classes with Brother Shaka. It's such a nominal amount for how much you get. I know, like, our last class was over 2.5 hours. It felt like 2 minutes, but because that's how involved you are in what he's teaching and how he teaches and how compassionate he is about what he teaches. Also with sharing materials free of charge, no question, no doubt. It's just what he does. He doesn't have to, but he does. And so I just wanted to give a short testimonial about the class and the effectiveness of the class. And all of that is attested to how studied Brother Shaka is. So I highly recommend anyone with a minimal interest that you do sign up for the Medu Nature class. Hotep.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, which is Ma'at Forever. Don't forget to watch the video entitled Kemet and Ma'at. Don't forget to share Kemet and Ma'at on my channel on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or other social media that you use. Email, text messages, you name it. Those who wish to donate can do so on paypal.me/ma'atforever.